you can't help yourself if you see a band that is up there playing dance music and dancing, and not just like I'm moving around cornerly 1 2 1 2, but I'm talking about just get into it all day. You can't help yourself. It just looks so much fun. Just like fuck yeah. And I'm sorry, I hate to toot our own horn, but I have to. If you see a bunch of people on stage and they're dancing, you look like shit if you're just standing there like this. Fuck those people who say people in DC don't dance, because they do. We decided to do it in what was called a Finnish runoff style vote, where we had about 5 or 6 names in a hat. Most of the names were shitty. Rara Rasputin was good, and it comes from an old disco song by the group Boney M, which was a bunch of people from Jamaica who were produced by Frank Farian, who went on to produce Milli Vanilli. Same thing too. Rara Rasputin, lover of
love machine. He drives all of the girls so wild.
Exactly. So yeah. Because all the other rah-rah bands that are out there, they go for the cheerleader thing like rah-rah riot or rah-rah rabbit. Us, it is rah-rah Rasputin, because it comes from a song, which means it's more legit than those other bands' names. So fuck you guys.
No, stop it.
I know. We did contact Rah-Rah Riot, and they were actually pretty nice. We invited them to a party. I know, I'm embarrassing the shit out of you.
Of the nature of not wanting to subscribe like titles to what we're doing, and our goal is just to really make fun and sincere music and really explore different sounds.
I always say we play loud dance music with old synthesizers, lots of percussion, dancing guitars, funky bass lines.
And for those people who really like, I need to classify them by bands that are in my record collection types, Talking Heads meets The Rapture, meets Happy Mondays, meets Depeche Mode, meets Italian Disco.
I always say that we're pretty sincere. We're basically here to play music and have a good time and make good music that we want to listen to, that we want to share with our friends, and that we think is fun. And I think that comes across.
And you can tell that we really care about each other and enjoy each other's company on stage. There's nothing so just like, I don't want to really look at that guy at the keyboard. I only hit you in the face once, and that was totally an accident.
Kind of awesome.
There was blood everywhere.
Yeah.
We're just like Kiss and Gene Simmons.
One day I hope something everybody talks about. I hope one day like we can come back and we're doing a free show for everybody, all of our friends, all the people that came out to the first shows, and we're so happy that you're here. It's free. Drink for free, the bars for free, all of you. Just have a fun time. There's 1,000 people, have fun. We remember you at the first show. Just do whatever you want.
I'll leave you with this. It's very, very, very rare. I don't know why, because our schedules and jobs and such. Sometimes it's rare for us to all just come and hang out. But on the rare occasion that all 4 of us show up at your party, the bar where you guys are hanging out, or your show, recognize 2 things. Number 1, we will drink all the booze. And number 2, we're gonna stay on that late night tip, because the band that plays together parties together all day, every day. All day, every day.
Hello, it's me, Kevin Vonesper. And like, fuck introductions. I'm just gonna bring you right in, okay? Is that a thumbs up? All right. I saw you just like cracking up over there. I'm just gonna bring him in. Like, you'll figure out who you are throughout the episode. Like, whatever.
Always the loudest person in the room.
Welcome to my pity pod.
What's up, Kevin? How you doing?
What's up? What's up? Halloween kicked my ass. I regret nothing, but now I'm paying the price. And like, I still have only slept a few hours since like this past weekend. So
It was a return for a lot of people, and I salute everybody who stayed out on the serious late night tip.
oh man, it's not even that. It's just like in New York, especially for me, there's too many things happening that I'm like, I have to go to or I'm working at. So it was just like event. And some of them were like double events and like late night tips and secret adventures. And oh boy, it was fun. But man, going back to work is rough this week. How was uh-oh, are you muted on purpose?
Yes, I am, but
Oh,
now
okay,
I'm
good.
not.
Just making sure. What was Halloween like for you over in LA?
It's been sleepy the last few years, honestly. We have some friends who used to have a killer Halloween party some years back when I first moved here. It was great fun. It was two of Kate's very close friends, and they lived over in, I guess, Hollywood, Babylon. Shout out to Melissa Malave, formerly Melissa Friedman, who used to live right up the road from there when she was out in LA.
She's not there anymore?
No, she's been back in New York since
Oh, okay.
2018, actually.
Gotcha.
Anyway, besides the point, they used to have the Rager, their Halloween party and their holiday party. And since they've both since moved out and, boyfriends become husbands, and it's hard to maintain that same energy. This year we just handed out candy. Didn't do too much this past weekend, but hey, you know what? I did not dress up. It was one of those. My Monday was terrible. My Monday was how it is. You have a day job.
Yeah, but I took 2 of my 3 personal days this week.
See, that's a smart move. That's a serious.
We'll see.
Right
we'll see how it is later in the year when I need those, or later in the whatever. But I regret nothing, and part of it was work, so I was like skipping work to work. But there were things I was going to be at anyways. For the most part, I was doing events related to the World Inferno Friendship Society. I don't know how much you know about them, but it's
mostly through you guys.
Yeah, it's something I've been heavily involved with for like 20 years. And the singer died last year, and Halloween was always their big event. So this year was sort of like a multi-event memorial / passing of the torch, like just all sorts of stuff. There was an orchestral tribute to the band, and this all relates back to our scene in ways, because like, for example, I saw 2 people that I can relate back directly to our scene, more or less. One is Rebecca Schlappish Charles, who was in the World Inferno, who was in Kiss Kiss before the World Inferno with our man Sam, who came straight from the Rockland County scene with us. And the other one also is related to Sam, Patricia Santos, who played in Hudson Hank, also played this weekend. So I'm like, oh, cool. Hey, what's up?
Oh my goodness, Hudson Hank. So for those of you who are uninitiated, Sammy is one of our very, very close friends, also from Rockland. Incredible baseball player and baseball fanatic, trumpet player extraordinaire. His dad is a pretty well-respected jazz musician.
Professor of music now, I guess.
Yeah, professor of music. He was living out in Colorado for some time, getting his master's. I believe he's doing his PhD down in Arizona. And actually, last time I saw Sammy was about 3 days before shutdown out here in LA.
Wow.
He was flown out to play a show as a trumpet player, or maybe as multi-instrumentist.
He just played with The Who.
Yeah, exactly.
He just played with The Who, like, in the band.
Yes, was part of the orchestra, and also Sammy, I remember just like a random story that Sammy had told me one time. He was talking about it going to a cage fight somewhere in North Jersey years ago, long before MMA was fashionable. And he's one of those people who always finds himself in the weirdest and most interesting situations. Like the time he texted me, I'm a big soccer fan, big supporter of the French national team, Allez les Bleus. Huge fan of Zinedine Zidane, who was infamously ejected from the 2006 World Cup. Sammy texts me at some unholy hour of the night from Colorado someplace, and he's like, "Yo, I'm hanging out with Zinedine Zidane's cousin." I was like, "The fuck out of here!"
You never know who that guy's gonna be in a room with,
Sends
or
me a
any of us,
text.
really. You know,
Sends me a text and it's spitting image. But Sam did a great album called Hudson Hank, which is a bit of a riff on the Hudson River, which we all grew up along. And
yeah,
also
and
the
I
old
thought it
movie.
was a riff on Hudson Hawk.
Well, that movie
It
was so
not.
bad; it was just stuck in like it was.
I've actually never seen it, but I know we have a big fan of it in the house right now.
Has anybody? Well, you know what? I think this is crazy. Apparently, Tony Hawk's kid, one of his several children, Hudson Riley Hawk. I think he just goes by,
kidding.
Yeah, he goes by Riley, and he's also a professional skateboarder and really, really cool. And apparently is dating Francis Bean Cobain.
Okay.
Life is strange. But anyway, apparently that dude's full name is Hudson Riley Hawk.
Did Sam have any idea about that at the time?
I don't think so.
Oh no.
But anyway, Hudson Hank is it's a Baroque pop album. That's what it is. It reminds me of groups like the Left Bank, some of the early stuff by John Cale of the Velvet Underground. Sam is a tremendous composer and has actually written charts for some of your favorite bands. And if I recall, this album was produced by Guy Berryman of Coldplay.
From Coldplay.
Yeah. So
who me and Evan interviewed for a promo piece that we made for it.
That's so weird.
It was just so weird.
And I mean, he
lived with him for like a couple of weeks making this record, and then like mixed and mastered it, I think, in Abbey Road Studios.
Which is a dream
like,
come true
wow.
for any musician.
I don't know what room, but who cares?
Dog, it put me in a small annex janitor's closet. I'll just be happy to soak in the vibes and the paint thinner.
Yeah, I've never been there, but I know one of your favorite bands growing up was the Beatles.
Still is.
Yeah, and how excited are we for the Revolver remixes? Because I think it's actually out now. I haven't checked it out yet because I've been so busy. But ever since they started remixing these albums, I was like, I got it. Like, I can't wait for Revolver. That's my favorite Beatles record.
Yeah, the technology had to catch up for better or for worse. I think when we were kids in the late 80s and early 90s, there were instances in which master tapes were just missing. And I don't think for the Beatles and the Stones, more so for the Beatles and the Stones, tapes were well documented, well labeled, and well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
You step outside of blue chip artists who recorded on tape, you start to get these stories of what happened to the masters. Dog, I don't even know.
Who knows?
Or they've disintegrated because they were being stored in somebody's cupboard.
Exactly.
And that's been a real challenge, not for the Beatles so much.
No.
The issue there, the tapes are, I can't remember what the last digital transfer that they did, but I think EMI did a pretty significant project.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I imagine all this started when they put out that Love album.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the first time they started using like raw tracks and mixing them together. And then the albums, I'm sure they have all the albums ready to go. They're just waiting every year for Christmas to do it. It's all done, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, just having Get Back on Disney, at first you'd think, why? Why Disney? And then I remember I saw a billboard somewhere in the East Village. It was I think it was a billboard for Get Back, and it said John, Paul, George, Ringo, and Mickey. And it kind of hit me. I was like, oh, the Beatles are now in the Disney lane, where you're just part of the greater pop culture. You're no longer really attached to the 60s. Like Mickey is timeless. The Beatles are timeless.
And I think it was a good fit, though. They let it be no pun intended. They let it be what it was going to be. There's still some crude language in that documentary.
A lot of crude language.
Like,
and a lot of drinking. My goodness.
Yeah.
Like we knew what to expect with the smoking. We knew for a fact it was going to be chain smoking all day long. But the sheer amount of booze
We don't see what John was getting up to after hours.
after
Thank
nope.
goodness. But you know, we know from context, you know, what's
Exactly.
going on there.
And yet his points of lucidity. I mean, I think we've all been in bands where there's somebody who is in outer space for whatever reason took them out there. But their ability to snap back into reality and remind you what's happening. It was, I think that the best thing about it was seeing that the Beatles were just like every other band, sitting around waiting for someone who's
Waiting
always
for
late
shit to happen, yeah.
and trying to write songs and spending hours writing songs and just trying over and over again. And I think that sends a really important message out there, because I think a lot of people now who want to get into the music game, probably more than ever. And you know, we were teenagers during the peak of CD sales with the Backstreet Boys and them. There's a lot of people now who want clout, they want to be famous, or they want to have a TikTok dance or whatever.
My music is now on TikTok, so go out and make your dances and send them to me. I'm still waiting for Instagram to put the album up, god damn it, but it's on TikTok.
I don't know. I bet, you know, I respect to people who put in the work to do stuff on TikTok, because maintaining a presence on any digital platform is a hell of a lot of work. And especially having worked in digital media, those people are on a grind. If you're a content creator, you know.
Yeah, Keith.
Oh, what's up, Keith?
He was shocked how fast they considered replacing George with Clapton. Yeah, they were just like, oh, he's gone? Well, let's call Eric.
He probably would have done it too.
And he's the one who likes Hudson Hawk, which I still have never seen, but I remember you were a fan.
Hudson
Has
Hawk
nothing to do with Hudson Hank. But that's what I thought.
It was because remember, it was you know, every great 80s and 90s star has their peak and then their valley. And I think, what's his name, Bruce Willis, because he's retired now. I think he has
yeah, he's some condition that he doesn't want, you know, might as well go out on top, I guess, sort of.
Yeah, I think so. I think it might be sort of vocal paralysis, or I'm trying to remember what the formal definition of it is, but it affects his not only he has not only struggled with cognitive issues, but also just being able to vocalize and express himself, which is really unfortunate too, because he was one of those people who, you've seen this with Pacino, a lot of the greats. I guess, I don't know if it's because they need to maintain a certain sort of lifestyle, or maybe they're in heaps of debt. You know, we'll just keep cranking out these terrible movies. But I guess not everybody can be Keanu Reeves.
No. We're talking to Cousin P, who I think you're the first guest that I've known since high school.
Isn't that wild? Oh, the Meat Man.
That's great. We have to talk about the Meat Man.
We're definitely talking about the Meat Man.
Yeah, because
I've met Tesco V.
So have I. And but I think talking about the Beatles is a good segue into, so I encouraged your music early on, and the first songs you ever wrote were for a band that we ended up being in together called Scam, right?
Yes, and I still have that.
And so it was really like the Beatles, a big Beatles influence, but like with a kick of hardcore punk.
Yep.
And so that became Scam. That's like a perfect description for it. It's like if the Beatles meets, I don't know, Minor Threat or something like that.
I mean, that was pretty much all we were listening to at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was to kind of.
I have some potentially embarrassing pictures, but I don't think anything too crazy.
I mean, as long as it's safe for work, we're good money.
Yeah, I mean, there's some shirtlessness if you're okay with that.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, nothing beyond that, nothing crazy. But look, that's.
All right.
So okay, let's talk about Minor Threat and Straight Edge, because we were playing pretend, we were straight edge, but we never claimed it for life or anything like that.
Oh no, and I think
we were more. We found the band after we had already been like that, so we were like, oh, this relates to us. It wasn't like the other way around.
Well, I think there were some really important parallels between how we grew up and also how a lot of the musicians in the Washington, D.C. hardcore scene grew up.
So you would know a little bit more about that because you've been in the D.C. scene. So tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of your favorites, Henry Rollins, Guy Picciotto, Ian MacKaye. I mean, a lot of them came from nice relatively middle class families. I think
Right.
Rollins had a tougher time as a child than others because his dad was either abusive or absent, depending on which day of the week it was. And he's written about that extensively. And actually, he's one of the people who really inspired me to also start writing on the side. But Ian MacKaye went to Woodrow Wilson, which is a very good public high school in Northwest DC, near American University. Guy, I believe, went to Georgetown Day, and later went on to Georgetown University, where he studied English. And it's important that I bring that up, because I think the big thing that I learned from DC is that it was a big reminder that punk is for everybody. I think there are some people who view it as purely a working class thing. And if you look at the most infamous punk scenes, if you go back to London in the mid to late 70s, New York around the same time, it was a wild mix of people. In the UK, that was seen as very dangerous because punk brought in not only working class, middle class, and rich kids had them mixing. You had London Irish, people like Shane MacGowan from the Pogues, who moved to the UK when he was a little kid from Ireland and lived a pretty rural and rustic existence before moving to Britain. You had a lot of Jewish kids. You had, especially in the UK, Jamaicans. You had a lot of Black people, and you also had South Asians as well. So it was a space where it was really welcoming for everybody. And another reason it's important to remember why I brought up those schools is that the same schools that produced our favorite hardcore bands, all of the DC or hard DC core scenes, all those bands, are the same schools that produced people like Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And a lot of straight edge. Yes. Yeah.
We're being thrown into that? Okay.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of straight edge was about the rebellion against kids like him.
I guess that's true. That's true, yeah.
Taking drugs, taking advantage of women, just getting into fights, picking fights with punks. So straight edge was really about a sort of rebellion of maybe not so much about the purity, but being like, I don't want to do what those kids are doing.
Yeah,
and
I
our
think
schools,
that's kind of what it felt like for us.
Even
though some of our friends were like, not quite like that. They weren't into anything hardcore, but they were definitely like stoners and some drinking going on.
Yeah, but it was also, it was New City where we grew up. Rockland County, New York is a suburb of New York City. It was a wild time in the city, and there was some wonderful things happening. A lot of great club nights, and when you first started sneaking down into the city,
like think about what happened when we were in high school. Like 9/11 happened.
Yeah, that was my sophomore year of college. But yeah, like there was like
you were in college. Yeah, I guess I was a senior, so I was in high school. I was just finishing.
But the late 90s was kind of a wild time in retrospect, because it was also the time that broadband was becoming available in people's homes, not just on university campuses and in certain workplaces. So you were starting to get inklings of mixtape culture on steroids, people being able to pick from all kinds of different things.
Yeah, the Napster was happening about that time.
Yeah, it was. But for a lot of punk, independent, alternative music, you really had to be the know. And it was very much like it was a tiny community. My goodness. Anyway, to talk about Scam,
yeah,
I remember
Scam and mp3.com.
Are they still around?
Hell no. Not for a long ass time.
I don't know.
I mean, once MySpace started, that just like obliterated anything that was, like,
shout out to Tom.
It became like that. Yeah, Tom, I miss you. What happened to you?
Tom is a photographer now and can't be bothered.
Sure. I mean, he made all his money. He doesn't have to do anything else the rest of his life, I'm sure.
And nobody hates him, and he'll never get grilled in Congress.
And only one person ever took a picture of him.
Exactly. Like you could imagine you're at the grocery store somewhere, Southern California. Tom is right next to you. Would never know it because I'm sure he doesn't look like that anymore.
No, I'm sure he doesn't.
But it was senior year of high school, so this is 99 going into 2000, and it's the combination of college admissions, obviously a lot of pressure from home, big overachieving parents. My dad was now a retired surgeon. My mom is a retired pharmacist. 3 younger brothers, all very, 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 very bright.
Yeah, I was friends with your brother Jeff before I knew who you were.
Yep.
Like when we were in middle school, we were friends, I think.
Yeah, he was and still is one of the brightest people I know, and I think he was very close to the top of his class. Anyway, besides the point, I think what was feeling strange is, I've been playing guitar for a number of years, and I was thinking, you're starting to think about college and you're starting to think about being an adult and all that teenage angst, which I would trade that for this adult bullshit any day of the week.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I genuinely.
I mean, I sort of
would.
feel like I'm back there, but
I just
not in a necessarily a good way.
I don't know. It was the important thing about punk was that you saw and you heard bands that made you feel like I could do that.
And also remember, there was actually a punk scene. There was a scene.
Yeah.
We actually went to shows every weekend.
We went to shows in Nyack all the time.
I don't think that exists anymore, really.
No, it probably
like
doesn't,
I live here in Rockland again, and there's no backdoor anymore. Like there's no like kids starting rock bands that much,
No.
And even if they did, there's no place like we had to play. We had the Nyack Center, aka the Backdoor, was a program that ran in this community center that was in a church, which if you watch enough TV, you'll probably see it in something. I know last time I saw it was on the Orange is the New Black.
Mm-hmm.
It popped up.
Yeah,
it's an old church, but it turned community center, and they ran this program called the Backdoor. The first class of people who started it included Claudio Sanchez from Coheed and Cambria, and it was literally just like you went through the back door, and they had a stage set up in the back room. But eventually they built that stage that we grew up on in the main room. Like Claudio and his crew like literally made that stage, from what I know. And it was a student run, drug, alcohol free, like safe place for kids. The kids booked the talent and the art and then ran the shows with a little bit of adult supervision. That's pretty insane to think about now. And that was a lot of responsibility too.
It was, and it was a great
and a lot
opportunity.
of fun because we would book our friends' bands and then we would work the shows and we'd just be there all the time and everyone would support each other and there was a scene and it was fun.
You could learn a lot from starting a band. I think that the world would be a much better place if people decided they wanted to start a band rather than become an influencer. And
right.
People start playing music for lots of different reasons. I always thought the guitar was very, very cool. I actually got to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio.
Once. Yeah, when you're a touring band, you can get in for free with your laminate. So when I was on tour with Green Jelly, we went.
Nice.
This was like 2008, so this was almost 15 years ago.
They had a Beatles exhibition.
Yeah, I saw the console that recorded Sgt. Pepper's and some of the outfits and stuff like that.
Got to see a lot of George Harrison's outfits, all beautifully preserved. I got to see his psychedelic Strat, John Lennon's sanded down Epiphone Casino. I've seen pictures of these guitars a million times. It was fascinating to see. These were just off the rack. None of this stuff was custom. The Mellotron, they had John Lennon's Mellotron there.
That's awesome.
That was a showstopper for me because beginning of Strawberry Fields and
sure,
just the idea that how far we've come in the last 60 years of music synthesis and sound synthesis. But they also had a Rickenbacker 325, John Lennon's, that was gifted to him in Miami in 1964 for the second Ed Sullivan show. And that was my woodshop project in junior high school. I made that guitar. It's still at my parents' house, hanging on the wall. The clock is long dead, but
I made a clock out of my bass guitar.
Oh, the Steinbrenner with the
no, before that, the one before that, it was just like a cheap one. I have it somewhere. It doesn't work, but I have it physically.
But to talk about how the scam ended up happening.
And I want you to lead into the Black Book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, I'm trying to remember. Was it? I think it was Melissa our friend Melissa who introduced us. It was like, oh, check it out. There's this dude called Ike, which was your nickname,
right? Which I think is on the back of my shirt falling off.
Which was a reference to South Park, which was all the rage at the time.
Which was new, and now it's like 20-something seasons deep.
Exactly. And somehow, I don't know, there hasn't been as much of a degrading quality as, say, compared to The Simpsons, which after the first decade, unwatchable. But anyway, besides the point. I
haven't seen it in decades, really.
Yeah, I haven't. I think once I went off to college.
I can't speak to the quality, so.
Yeah. Same thing with South Park. I mean, it's like too many other things to watch and also other things to do. And going back to that question of teenage angst, and you're kind of feeling like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And so we're introduced, and I think we got to talking about music, and think it was you who encouraged me, who said like you should think about writing some songs. And here's the funny thing: you could be listening to all this punk, you can be listening to all these bands who did it themselves.
It was an Evil Kitty thing,
right? And nobody, nobody, it doesn't occur to you until somebody tells you, it's like, you can write your own songs. Yeah, I think everybody has to come to that realization on their own. And I had this black marble, what was it? It was a Mead notebook.
Yeah, like a composition notebook, right?
Exactly. This was before we got fancy with the moleskins and whatnot. Now it's just a regular standard issue. You get it at any stationery store, and just started writing. And it was a pretty interesting feeling too, because
it was pure and it was raw.
Yeah, it was being a teenager.
So pure and raw.
So emo.
And funny and emo. All the things.
It was, I think when you're a teenager, everything is deathly serious. As an adult, I can't take anything seriously.
No, and
I don't really
nobody
know
takes these songs very seriously either.
But the thing is about writing, it was really cathartic, and just writing about stupid teenage stuff and writing about crushes, and actually maybe I should pull out the Strat right now.
Sure, if
it's
you
not plugged in, but
you want to serenade us?
I'm not going to serenade you.
I'll I remember I was like, yo, let me see what you've been writing in that thing. And you let me borrow it for like a period at school. And I brought it into my class and I started reading it during class. And I was just bursting out laughing in the middle of class. I was like, oh my God. I think I almost got in trouble because of that book. And I was like, this is awesome. We have to do this. Like, come to my basement after school. Let's just and that's what we did. We just threw it together on an 8-track.
Yep.
It was, it wasn't really officially a band yet. It was just let's record some music. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it was Strat into, I think I don't know if it was Ed's guitar amp, where I think he had a PV. Your brother Keith.
You and Melissa.
Hell yeah, that was was that? Nope, Project Mayhem. That is
not. I have a scan of that somewhere.
Okay, cool. So I'm definitely wearing I'm probably wearing a Proud Nubian Brothers shirt, PNB Nation. This is Megan, she's now Megan Clegg since she's been married, but Megan Roy's house in Congers, New York, which is across the river from New City. And this is myself dancing, Ed on guitar, Kevin on bass, our friend Pete O'Brien singing.
That's the bass I made a clock out of.
Yep, it's an old Ibanez, which probably get a decent amount of money for that now, believe it or not.
I'd have to fix it up because it hasn't worked for a long time.
Dude, Japanese anything from the 80s and 90s is commanding a decent amount of money. Not boku dollars.
You probably did have a Marshall. We probably used that too, right?
Might have, but the thing is, Keith had the Roland Jazz Chorus, which ended up becoming a very important.
And Ed bought the same thing, I believe.
Yep.
Too, so
it was a very important amp for me later on doing Rara Rasputin stuff, because that thing is so loud and so clean, even when it's maxed out. It does not distort. It does not break up. It's the perfect amplifier for any kind of very clean playing. Great for jazz, obviously. It was huge in sub-Saharan Africa for Afrobeat, Lingala, because easy to maintain, well-made Japanese amplifier. When Paul Simon did a concert in a newly independent and liberated Zimbabwe as a protest against apartheid in next door South Africa, wall of jazz choruses on the amplifier. Those things are deafening. There's also like a 4x10 version of it too, which is very, very good. Anyway, besides the point. So yeah, we demoed some songs from.
Well, I have a question.
Book. Yeah.
I know I've asked you this many times, but I'm going to ask you publicly now. Does the Black Book still exist? Do you still have it?
Probably.
Because I feel like there's unfinished work there. I know I'm crazy for doing this and thinking this, but I still would like a decently recorded representation of all the work that I've ever done. Because unlike some people, probably most people, I'm like, no, those songs were awesome. They should be out there in the world for all my stuff, for all your stuff, and now with the technology, and our skill set, we could do it so much better and relatively cheaply, with home studios and everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even
I've been pushing for a Scam reunion album for a long time.
We should probably just do it. I think
Yeah.
to answer your question, it probably does exist. I
And
have
I think our first project, because we only did like
4 or 5
maybe
songs.
4 or 5 or 6 songs at the most from
Yep.
that. No, I would say 5. So there's 8 tracks on here. 2 of them are Blue Eyeshadow Girl, so that's 7. One of them is my song Telling End, so that's 6. There's got to be more, and we should make songs out of those, and that should be our first album, like the old school Scam stuff.
Well, the thing that's different now is we've both played in enough bands and worked on enough music and toiled over enough music that now it's much easier to articulate what we want. And I remember the first time I think your brother invited us to a session at, I can't remember what studio it was in Midtown for his band Evil Kitty, and that was a real eye opener. I think that was
In West, which studio was that? Keith, do you remember?
I want to say it was in Midtown somewhere, probably like around Manny's, that whole neck of the woods where a lot of the guitar shops and publishing companies used to be.
In the city?
Yeah, in the city.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
I don't remember you being there, but that's awesome.
No, I remember there was a
Ultima?
song which
I
had a
have no
chorus
idea.
which said, maybe it was Ultima because it was a song which had a chorus.
Uptime. That was more like Bronx area, I think.
Was it? No, I think I think I can swear, unless my memory could also be going. I crossed the 40 barrier.
Well, do you remember what they were recording?
It was a song that had something with a group vocals, and the chorus was like red, yellow. It was like a call and response kind of thing.
That does sound familiar. Keith, what was that?
I don't remember what the song was, but I remember it had a very, very good chorus tone. And I
was that the rehearsal space above the club? So that's could be. What was that song though? That sounds very familiar, but I can't place it.
I don't remember, but it was
that he's talking about a club called Downtime. That was sometimes the Albion Batcave, the classic goth club. It was near 42nd Street, Madison Square Garden area.
Okay, so I
know the song. I just remixed it. What was it? What song is that? And are we still on the new version? Anyways,
but anyway, you know, to your point, like the thing is for Scam, I think we use, you know, I used Ed had a Jackson.
Transcendent Love. That was an Evil Kitty song?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was definitely an Evil Kitty song. But yeah, Ed had a Jackson with humbuckers, and I had a Squire strap, Chinese Squire strap, which I had for years. In fact, I didn't. That was my only. I had that and a Carlo Robelli acoustic guitar that I'd taken with me for traveling. And those are the only 2 guitars I had for ages. I got a Rickenbacker 360. I think it was sophomore year, the summer between freshman and sophomore year. I was working for the Department of Health, and I saved. I really wanted one. I eventually sold it, replaced it with a Rick 330, which is what I really wanted. But I still have that one to this day. Anyway, besides the point.
Yeah.
You know, think about like that show at Megan's house. Think about shows at the back door. There was.
Yeah, I have more.
There was something.
Wait, these are from a talent show at high school. That one, and then whoever all these girls are, I don't know, but we took a picture with them.
Oh yeah, that's a bunch of my classmates.
Okay.
Let's see. The dude in the hat was one of those hippie guys whose name I can't remember. So going.
Yeah.
Okay, so going clockwise from him is. All right, I think. I follow the cursor. Okay, it's Tammy Debevoise, Dina Soffer. I think it's Julie, Jessica Hahn, if I remember her name correctly. Another girl called Julie.
See, you're in a different class than me, so I didn't know all these people as well.
Liz, who used to work for Hippie/Grateful Dead magazine. Jen, whose name I can't remember, down below. Rebecca Rosen, who I went to elementary school.
That sounds
elementary school all the way through college, but she also went to University of Maryland. Deborah Lifson, who was right next to me. I had a crush on her in elementary school.
Wow.
Yeah. Still got it.
I think this is the same show.
Yeah, same talent show. This is me with Nicole Tracy. Now
that's
Nicole
her
Massey.
Name.
Yep. She's now married to our classmate Dan Macy.
Really?
Who's wonderful couple. Really, really awesome. It's Pete O'Brien standing nearby. This is an earlier talent show. This is the fall talent show, I believe.
Oh,
I'm
maybe.
I'm wearing a bootleg Calvin and Hobbes shirt in that.
We saw that. Here's the back door. Well, this is, I wanted to show this one. Just this
is
isn't
later.
us performing, but this is the back door of the Nyack Center, and this was Scott Free that we were watching, and we're the only two people in the audience. And I believe this is our friend Jerry's first show ever.
Is it really?
I think so.
No way.
Yeah.
Jerry recently did a podcast interview with one of his friends.
It was awesome. And it came out like the day after I saw him for his 40th birthday.
It's so good. He's a phenomenal guitar player. We were in junior high. We started playing guitar around the same time. And I think he had a Mexican Strat. I had the Squire, which I've long since updated. Anyway, and then he went to a different high school for high school. Unfortunately, after his dad passed, and I think there was a sentiment like, we need to have you some discipline. I think obviously he talks about it in the podcast. Like,
yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, but we would still hang out like every now and again. But then we really reconnected as we started going to shows because
but
that's
the scene,
Well, that's the thing. You're right. It was a scene. There was a lot of people hanging out and playing together, and I think when that's happening around you, that creates urgency, and urgency is the thing that eventually leads you to decide, all right, I'm going to get something together, and not really worry about how it sounds or trying to get signed or anything like that. I think.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely never got signed.
Well, what's interesting, I was at a show a few weeks ago. This band called The Ocean Blue, who are from, I think, I want to say Hershey, Pennsylvania, and there was another band there called Riverside. They're all peak Gen X, like late 80s, early 90s guitar bands that were influenced by the House of Love, who I also just saw, the Smiths, the Stone Roses, but they were all American. And it was interesting was talking to those guys because they all got signed almost out of high school. And we actually had a really good conversation about getting signed to Sire Records by Seymour Stein, getting to work with Howie Klein. And I can't imagine being a high school kid and being tasked with, the Ocean Blue, for example. They recorded their first album with John Porter, who played bass with Roxy Music and recorded, I think, their first LP, and then would later record the first Smiths album. So, and I think I want to say some of his stuff was here. He was here for a little while, and now I believe he lives in New Orleans. But I can't imagine being 17, flying to England to record an album with one of your, I mean,
I think, oh my God, if we were in a real studio with a real producer with a real budget, we would have made it a fucking awesome record.
It wouldn't have been the same.
It wouldn't have been the same. Yeah, but we only had a 8-track, and like we thought we were good producers, and maybe we were for what we had available to us. But can you imagine someone like actually fine-tune combing that stuff? Like it would be great.
Or making some suggestions like try singing like this, or we're going to shorten, or you're going to shorten up this verse. And I think you're pointing at something that's really missing right now from pop music is that a lot of pop has become
guitars.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, look, there's a distinct difference between rock music and pop music with flashes or flourishes of guitars, and I think the issue is that who is empowering people to go and just start a band and start a scene? There's nothing that that kind of behavior is not really being modeled anywhere in pop culture, or they're certainly not in social media. It's about you, the individual, as the star. It's about people wanting to plug into an existing star system as opposed to building up and creating a scene on their own. And I think a big part of that, of building a scene, is that somewhere in there, as you are booking shows and hanging out with artists and making connections, you're finding yourself. It's weird, like it's almost contradictory, but you can find yourself in a crowd. And for a lot of bedroom producers, they can make such great music, or people who are doing stuff solo, but there is always something to be said about putting even a modest amount of money. I mean, Nirvana's Bleach was what, $600?
Something like that. Yeah, I think so.
It's a great record.
Yeah, Jack and Dino.
Because they had someone who cared. They had somebody who was going to take it the extra mile, even if it was only $600. The Beatles, Please Please Me, recorded in a day. But
I mean, that was a different era when bands would actually do that on the regular.
But somebody took the time to, for example, address the humming, the ground issues with the Beatles Vox amplifiers. Someone got to work on that immediately, you know, picking the correct microphones, you know, tending to John Lennon's voice because he, you know, had a cold and couldn't scream. So they saved Twist and Shout to the end and nailed it in one take. That's missing. And also, I'm sure you've seen this too, and you've been working on music a long time, so you certainly don't make this mistake. But there's a lot of people who will release stuff where highs are too high, you know, or you're hearing the kind of gremlins, or maybe not mistakes, but sonic decisions that don't really translate well once you leave the earbuds.
We care about quality here, even though the general audience, I don't think, cares about quality anymore. Because I've heard some of those SoundCloud artists, and it's like, wow, I mean, respect, that's awesome. But man, you could have maybe spent another hour on this.
No, absolutely. But for them, it's about.
And that's the new punk rock, I think. You know, it's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just like, it's hardly produced. I'm putting it out there, and people are gonna love it. And people don't care if it's like super slick or not.
I'm of two minds, because I think a lot about reading an interview with what
was it? Lil Nas X took that 9 Inch Nails loop.
Even it's a deep. It's a whole deep cut. It's
and can I relate this back to me? That's taken from a 9 Inch Nails album called Ghosts, which technically you are allowed to. They did put out like stems for it so that people could remix and sing. Of course, you weren't supposed to sell it, you know, but whatever. That's a whole different thing. But one of the musicians on that record is Brian Viglione, who is on Welcome to My Pity Party.
Small world. Small world.
I don't think he played on that song that Lil Nas X sampled, but he's on that record.
I actually really would wonder how much money Lil Nas X actually made from that album.
Buy my record.
Buy the record, please.
We'll talk about this more later, of course, because it all relates back to us. But let me just throw that out there.
But yeah, I think about I'm trying to remember who had produced the first three. Was it
who are we talking about?
I want to say was it Mike Thorne, I think it was, who had produced or worked or engineered the first 3 Wire albums.
Oh, that's more your world. I'm not sure.
Well, his thing was tune these guitars. Butch Vig with Sonic Youth. Butch Vig with Sonic Youth for Dirty.
I mean, I'm more familiar with his work with Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins and Garbage.
I feel like his working style probably meshed well with
L7,
with Billy Corgan.
Just photographed.
I heard they were really good. I regret not going to see them.
It was cool. I got on the photo pass list because Susie's gonna do an interview for my documentary.
Nice.
So she'll call, like we talk on the phone sometimes now. It's crazy. Very cool.
Only in our wildest teenage dreams. But yeah, I think Butch Vig was really keen on getting strobe tuners for Sonic Youth to really make those alternate tunings ring out, and that's why the 2 records that he did with Sonic Youth sound so different from the rest of their
that makes sense. That guy
everything that came up to them. And also because honestly, Geffen put dollars behind it, and Sonic Youth were doing numbers in the UK and had the cool factor because they were also the band that they were the ones who got Nirvana signed. And I think that's another thing that's not happening now is that
signed to the Lunatics too.
Yeah, I think Sonic Youth used the Nirvana clause as leverage for some time until they eventually left Geffen for Matador for their last 2 or 3 records before breaking up in 2011. But going back to that lesson from the 90s, when a label or somebody is investing in that band and you actually can buy some better gear and make a better record. I mean, goodness, Modest Mouse. Modest Mouse was on K. They were on Sub Pop, maybe. I can't remember. And then Sony picked them up. And then they put out their first of many very good records that crossed over, Moon and Antarctica, because of a better
you guys
budget.
Were really big into that, I remember.
It was also a great winter record.
That was before Float On really hit. You guys were.
Yeah, it was well before, but it was Modest Mouse slightly better produced. Oh wow, this sounds great! Like it's like
at the drive-in too.
Oh, what a
my god! Their
example.
first albums like had some great songs and they sound like ass. then get Ross Robinson in there with them, and it's like, holy shit! Like you really hear the chaos in like full stereo awesomeness.
He did a phenomenal job, and I
He's
think
one of my favorite producers. Yeah,
and
he started the new metal genre, and I'm not even that into that, but I just love that he did that.
His ability to
And The Cure too.
what was so surprising, but I think people forget that Robert Smith still consumes an incredible amount of music. You know, he did the Curiosa Festival back in 2003 with Interpol and the Rapture and Mogwai and a few other groups. And, you know, I think he's one of those people who enjoys staying young by trying to just keep track of what's happening in music. And also, I think just for having such a long career, like, you know, you can't disappear. You're going to be one of two ways. You either disappear up your own ass or you're still cool. And Robert Smith is still apparently pretty cool.
Did you see that clip of him dancing at a show recently?
Yeah.
Who was that band he was who's dancing to?
I'm not sure, but
it was funny. It was like hardcore music, and he was like doing his little goth dance on the side.
he could still have fun. He can still he's still, you know,
I can't wait for the new Cure record. I mean, I'm not a huge Cure fan, but they've been working on this for so long, and with Reeves Gabrels.
He's so good. Wow, what a guitar player. I mean, what a story that man could tell just about the bands that he's played with.
That came up on my show yesterday, my Guar pod, where we talk about Guar, the original guitar player for Guar in 1984, now plays a Reeves Gabrels. Keith would know the make and model, but
with the Parker?
No, whatever he's using now.
Not sure. It's hard to even keep track of what he's using in the Cure because, you know, in addition to having to pick up a Fender Bass 6, you know, for certain older songs, especially from Wish,
Reverend,
Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. Yep, Reverend. Yeah, I think Robert Smith is also playing Reverends now. I think he's got I want to say he has an endorsement deal. But for years, his thing was Jazzmaster. Yeah, 2 Jazzmasters, one black, one white, and a couple of Fender Bass 6s. Telecaster for a little while in the mid '80s. There's a great concert film of the Cure in orange.
Yeah, I have a bootleg DVD of it because it's never been put out like properly.
No, it hasn't. It's you know I think they shot
maybe.
I mean, it's weird. Like the Cure are so big, and yet they still feel like everybody's like closely guarded secret. But they're one of the biggest bands in the world. I mean, when my wife Kate and I went to see them, she's a huge Cure fan. They were playing at the Hollywood Bowl. They could have played the Hollywood Bowl 2 weeks straight. I think
I've never been there.
Oh, we should go, man. They booked 2 nights. I think they had a hold on the entire week. So if demand was high enough, they easily could have filled it. I mean,
so you saw with Reeves?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, they were phenomenal. Like they played the hits. Like they know what to do. But anyway, back to having a scene. Back to hardcore.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go back to my slideshow.
Yep, this is us playing Blue Eyeshadow Girl at
the talent show.
At the talent show at our high school, which you would think would be so embarrassing to play a song about your high school crush, the homegirl Alexis.
That's Blue Eyeshadow Girl.
Yeah, happily married, living in Connecticut with 2 kids.
Oh, wow. You actually know you kept track of all these people. I was thinking like I should do a series on this podcast, whatever you call it. People like, what should I call it? Didn't I go to high school with you?
Yep.
You see where they are now, you know.
Yeah. She's doing well. Yeah, there I am. With the Strat. Yeah.
Before digital cameras. I mean, before like cameras were on our phones.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
if we had the quality in our pockets that that we had now.
Oh yeah. I mean, and this was the spring talent show, and see, look at us. Oh, I love the Private Parts tie.
Yeah,
what a great movie, by the way. Although that Jane's Addiction song that they submitted was terrible. Remember the soundtrack for Private Parts?
I love all these. Yeah, I do. I have it somewhere.
Jane's Addiction are awesome, by the way. I realized I've been in LA for 8 years, and I think I knew that I was on some lifer shit out here when
I filmed them like pretty much front row at a show they did in Times Square CBGB's festival. Wow. I have like some really incredible footage. Like I could have touched Dave Navarro if I wanted to.
Wow. Amazing guitar
player. Him.
Dude, and that man has lived a crazy life. My God.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, my oof.
This
my
is nothing. This is something that couldn't happen on our phones now. Double exposure.
triple, really. I mean,
Triple, yeah.
this
This film got really messed up and in the best way. Is that
yeah.
Ariel?
Yeah, Ariel, yeah, she lives in LA.
Yeah,
She
no,
usually
I found her on your Instagram and I've been following her for a while now. And
she's awesome.
she probably has no recollection of who I am and
Oh
my
no, she
real first
remembers.
name. Yeah, but does she know? Like, I'd love to get her on the show because I see she does podcasts and like cool stuff all the time.
Oh yeah, and especially when it comes to
That's
sex and
cool.
sexuality,
Yeah,
sexual health, like
yeah, she's
she's
great.
awesome.
I've been following since I found her hanging out with you in LA. Like, I've been following all the stuff she does. It's very
Yeah.
impressive.
Oh, and of which one? Old British cars.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that car show she does.
It's
How cool are these pictures?
I know. Well, we all dressed up, which was
Yeah,
great, which I
that
thought was
was,
hilarious.
and that's something that we didn't really do at the time. Well, maybe you did, but a little bit more than us. But I was like, oh, dressing up is stupid. And it really what changed my mind on that was, again, relating back to my Halloween weekend, the World
Hmm.
Inferno Friendship Society, or this punk rock orchestra, and they're these very distinguished looking gentlemen and ladies coming on stage with suits and dresses, you know, and then like fucking everything up, then the room just like blows up and it gets destroyed.
Well, the '90s was very casual. Remember, I mean, it's certainly. I think
Oh
it
no, but
was.
I trust me, people are really casual now. Like I'm not gonna reveal exactly what I do, but for many years in various jobs I've worked with um, high school students and they sweatpants and hoodies almost and Crocs like most of the time.
Oh man,
Like
that's a little too
like
leisurely.
I was the sweatpants guy in high school and that was like a rare thing.
Yeah,
Now it's everybody.
yeah. Just sweatpants, cool band shirt, maybe a hoodie if it was
Yeah, I
cold.
was my Misfits shirts and like stuff like that. And plus,
God, what?
I lived across the street basically from the high school, so I didn't try too hard.
Yep, that's Chris from Shopping Cart Catastrophes who
Yeah, he
played
was our
drums.
makshift drummer for the night.
Yep. I mean, it was a basically like a typical punk
That
show,
was
and
a
I mean, goodness, he even has a look. He has the A shirt.
oh, let me
Where
get
was
that.
this? This is was that
This must be a
oh,
spring fest.
this is at Springfest, and so this is what was really important here.
Okay.
So Project Mayhem, which is your band,
Yeah,
played.
Project Mayhem.
They, it was mostly covers. So played "Enthused" by Blink 182.
No, we sprinkled a couple in there, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a mix of covers and originals, but they brought Pete O'Brien onto the stage for two songs.
Then he became the Disturbed Youngsters.
Yep, it's a fascinating listen because having lived in California for years, being married to an urban planner, and spent a lot of time reading about California history, the more I learn as I live out here, the more I realize that the dead Kennedys, more specifically Jello Biafra, was a prophet, because it really is this kind of it is a hellscape in a lot of ways. And the late Mike Davis, one of the most brilliant historians of social movements. He did a great book about yay thick about California in the 1960s called Set the Night on Fire. The Dead Kennedys really talked about a lot of the contradictions in life in California, and especially
I think he still does. If you follow his channel, he does that. What would Jello do?
Yeah, just like you would scratch beneath the shiny surface and see a real
by the way,
hellscape.
R.I.P.
D.H. Peligro, my God,
powerhouse.
It's by the way, it's absolutely.
I did get to
criminal.
see him play at least once or twice with the new Dead Kennedys.
I refused.
Whatever, I didn't care. My friends were opening the show, Reagan Youth, which is very controversial now.
Is it? I mean,
well, they not inherently, but they have a new lead singer who's very controversial, and a lot of people are upset about. So
I am not surprised about that.
From Leftover Crack.
Oh my goodness! Wow, what a controversial group.
But. Yeah, so people are kind of mad about that, but he wasn't in the band at the time when I saw them. My friend Tibby, who I've been working with for over a decade, is the bass player for a long time now. So
nice.
Reagan Youth's been very nice to me over the years, so I can't say anything bad about them.
Melissa played me some amazing records at her parents' house back in the day that really blew my mind. ESG's UFO was one of them, which Rara played live a whole bunch of times, and I'm still obsessed with South Bronx Story, that compilation. John Wayne Was a Nazi by MDC, playing stuff by the Dicks.
Okay, so now this is a perfect segue. Well, first, for context of pop culture, the most famous thing anyone out there would know about Reagan Youth is the song Degenerated, which was the song that the fake band in Airheads plays in that
It's
movie.
a great movie.
Yeah, that's a Reagan Youth song.
That's a great movie. Everything about that movie is
Brendan
perfect.
Fraser, Adam Sandler,
Michael Richards.
Oh boy.
Somehow managing to be more neurotic than Kramer
Kramer?
in his role as one of the, I think he was the lawyer or the
Wait,
accountant.
who was the other band member? Steve Buscemi.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
classic. Okay, so yeah, this is perfect, and I have this is the next picture in my slideshow anyways. We got to talk about the Meatmen.
What about the Meatmen?
Well,
the Meatmen were great.
The Meatmen were great, and I guess my question is, in hindsight, are you like, oh my God, I can't believe we were listening to that stuff. It's like so controversial and like politically incorrect. Yeah, we like, just to put it out there, we're a very progressive bunch of people. I would say probably still as well, right? And the Meatmen in the wrong context are very wrong in every way, I guess you would say.
Wasn't that the whole point? I mean,
that is the whole point. But did we get that at the time, or did you get that at the time?
Of course, we got that at the time.
I'd like to think we got that it was a joke and it was a character.
Of course
and
we
it
did.
was so wrong for the point of being wrong. But Tesco can't tour anymore because of like cancel culture and stuff like that. It's just not the right climate. He's like, fuck it, I'm not gonna ruin my life just to play shitty clubs. You know, if they were like a legacy act playing like, you know, the Misfits playing MSG, fine. But last time I saw them was St. Vitus in Brooklyn for like 20 people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that
most punk rockers of that vintage are now either pensioners or close to pension age. Like, they're definitely receiving regular mailers from the AARP. And if we're going to talk about the Meatmen, then we should probably, if we're going to talk about the Meatmen, then we're also going to talk about the Misfits. We're also going to talk about a whole host of bands who really push the envelope of good taste. And I think we were well aware. I think a lot of being a teenager is trying to find ways to, in French, there's a really good phrase, épater la bourgeoisie, right? Which means to go like this, you know, to thumb off, to piss off the bourgeoisie, because I think it's also, remember,
I got it because I was really into Guar, and that's like a joke where it's like, yes, we do everything wrong, but we're supposed to be the villains. That's the joke. And the things that they bring out to like mutilate is what is reflected in the society at the time. It's the current regime. It's like the current pop stars, you know. It's like,
but also remember, like, you know, at the time too,
if you're offended, the joke's on you because we are from outer space. That's the joke. And also the Meatmen came from that same sort of.
Yeah, the Meatmen were from Michigan.
He does have costumes, but Tesco is less of an obvious character than Oderus Urungus. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I think, you know, also remember the Meatmen played with pretty right-on groups like, say, Minor Threat quite frequently. I mean, Brian Baker
for a long time. Yeah,
Brian Baker.
They were in the band.
Yeah, Brian Baker, when, you know, Minor Threat broke up, Brian ended up doing other musical things. Eventually joined the Meatmen and was phenomenal. I mean, Rock and Roll Juggernaut is still a great album.
One of my favorites. I mean, it's not front to back amazing, but
Coming Over to My Crib.
Some of those songs are like the best songs that they've ever done, for sure. If I was ever going to do an official Meatmen cover, it would have to be Rock and Roll Juggernaut. And we did cover the Meatmen for
Turbo Rock. Yeah, French People Suck. All Hippies Suck.
We rewrote the Suck trilogy. It's All Hippies Suck. Yeah.
It was.
So we've embodied some of that in our own music.
But I think also remember too, like the debate about political correctness was raging in the late 80s, early 90s, but mostly in academia. And divorced from academic context, I think that's how you have now. It's kind of an open-ended Twitter feud, which has since been appropriated into a political cudgel. And it's really difficult to examine art from even 10 years ago through a lens of today. I mean,
Right,
even
and we're talking
fashion.
about 1983, where and
Exactly.
they're like writing these anti-gay songs because they were playing in gay bars and they were just making the locals laugh. They never thought these songs would last more than like a weekend. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I mean, that's the thing. It's punk was also filled with contradictions. I mean,
Right.
look at all the people who decided that they wanted to do something stupid like wearing Nazi armbands or use
Yeah,
Nazi
you
influenced
know what?
band
I do
names.
not defend Sid Vicious. That guy sucked.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He did suck. And unfortunately, a lot of people took after him. But
Sure.
there's always going to be people who will do the wrong thing to try to rebel. And I think
It's
for
gotta be
punk,
funny.
for
Like,
punk, for punk, a lot of it wasn't funny. I think that's where it got really scary when you hear stories about people, getting into fights with skinheads at shows. And
yeah, that was a real thing back then.
yeah, it was. I mean, I think well into the 1980s, it was pretty dangerous to be in a DIY hardcore or punk scene, because for all the people who were really chill and were helping build things up, there were also plenty of people who were there to fight. And I think every generation is going to be finding something that they're writing about or they're working on that the next one or two generations down is going to find as being this is off color, or this is straight up offensive. But I think the other thing is too
I
is
think we've gone too far. I mean, it's just a fun debate.
no, I don't think so. But also, I think if you learn to appreciate music or any kind of art, but especially visual art, my goodness. I remember reading a great interview with Lou Reed where they asked him, you're writing songs about sadomasochism and intravenous drug use and
Or
some
Venus
pretty out there
Wilburn,
stuff.
yeah.
And he said, we're not writing about anything that hasn't been already written about in novels and in poetry. The only difference is
Yeah,
we're writing about
Marquis
it.
de Sade.
Yeah, we're writing about it as a rock and roll band. And so, we're living in a time now where there's a much more serious awareness of drugs and of much more serious awareness of the nuance within drug use and drug culture. And also there's fentanyl and meth on the streets now. And so it's a lot scarier of a time. So I think, whereas it used to be, used to have songs which were rife with drug references, even covert ones. I mean, my goodness, Ladies and Gentlemen, We're Floating in Space by Spiritualized. That album is mostly about heroin.
I don't know about that, but I mean, they weren't always. Well, I don't know. Are we talking about the '80s or just rock and roll in general? Because
That's in
some
general.
of them were
There
pretty.
she goes. There She Goes by The Laws. One of the best pop
Some of
songs
them
of the
were pretty
last.
obvious. I mean, Eric Clapton did
Oh
not.
yeah, yeah. He covered a J.J. Cale song called "Cocaine." So
Oh, that wasn't his own composition. I didn't know
nah.
that. But yeah, it's pretty like. What do you think he's talking about?
No, it is. It is. I think it was Danzig who was lamenting cancel culture and
Yeah, but
feeling like,
yeah,
how could I
he's not
write
supposed to
something
be
like.
playing clubs though. That dude's playing.
He's playing
Madison Square
stadiums. He's
Garden.
playing like a Reunited Misfits is playing stadiums.
Yeah,
And
I saw the MSG show. It was awesome.
I think what would be interesting is if someone said like, listen, like what you wrote about as a character, or or as a potential script for a movie,
Right.
what flew then wouldn't fly now. But then here's the thing: every generation has to find their thing
That was
their way to push
interesting,
the buttons.
actually. Like, I mean, I'm very fully aware of all of the lyrics of the Misfits, especially having been in a Misfits cover band for a while.
Mhm.
Like, but when you are with like thousands of people screaming about like cutting girls' heads off, you kind of think to yourself like, maybe this is fucked up. Like this is like really anti-women and very, but if that was horror movies, it's just horror movies. Women were victims, and that's what he was
Yeah,
writing
I mean
about.
and I think the other thing
It was
is,
kind of shocking. Just like I want your skulls. You're just singing like with thousands of people. Like,
Mommy, can I go
Mommy,
out
can I
and
go out and kill tonight?
kill tonight?
Especially, yeah, exactly. It's just like, wow, this is like so misogynistic.
But then so were like Russ Meyer films and like a lot of
Oh yeah,
B
but I
movie.
have that collection too.
But think about it.
I met Carlos Santana once.
We used to love watching like Mystery Science Theater when they would watch crappy old B horror movies from back in the day. I mean,
That's my jam.
my goodness, like even the stuff from the 80s where you had a little bit more of a budget, like on the of the Troma universe. It's playing on like a whole bunch of tropes. And I think a big part of it is that really it's less about cancel culture and more about the idea that speech can come with consequences, and if you are unprepared to deal with the consequences of people asking questions about what it is you're writing about in the movies that you're making, then yeah, I mean it's a fool's errand to dismiss it as it's like, oh, it's censorship. No, you can say whatever you want, but remember, it's
we're not censoring anybody. We're just like
the dollar rules everything. So if a sponsor decides if a sponsor decides that they want to pull ad dollars from your program, or
so now we're talking about Ye.
Pardon?
Are we talking about Ye now?
Oh, I'm not even gonna touch it. Like he deserves everything that's coming to him. Yeah. But anyway, besides the point,
I was never. I know you guys were big into the graduation and everything. I never.
But he was also ubiquitous. He was part of pop culture. Now he's on his way out. But that's what happened.
Yeah, and then if you talk to Tesco V, he's like, yes, this is satire and parody. Like I'm like the most not racist person, sexist person you'll ever meet. You know.
And there you go. It's a character. And whereas with Kanye, it's very, very clearly he holds a lot of racist and anti-Semitic and super problematic beliefs. Right. But anyway, for anybody who's complaining about that, your problem is probably not with quote unquote cancel culture. It's probably more with capitalism, because that's what happens if the shareholders decide that they want to pull ad dollars, or they don't want to sponsor this person. That's what it is. That's not cancel culture.
Yeah.
It's consequences. And I think also a lot of people who are really push the envelope in art understand that there are consequences, and some of them have indeed paid. But
punk rock was its own little punk rock was really testing the limit. Like if you go watch The Decline of Western Civilization and you watch Fear throwing around the F word and stuff like that, they were just doing that to antagonize their audience. They would say anything to make people throw shit at them. You know what I mean? Like that was the game.
Which you would never do now. But I think we're also in a different space where, pop culture, music, American culture is far more openly queer friendly. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot about MTV back in the day. And it was all just like you got this beautiful window just into the world in the city, Club MTV. You had House of Style with Daisy Fuentes and Todd. I think it's Todd Oldham, the fashion designer.
Wasn't Cindy Crawford on that for a while?
Yeah, Cindy Crawford was. I think it was also Cindy Crawford. I think also obviously RuPaul.
Had something to do with,
the B-52s. I mean, like a lot of us, who are in this place now, who consider ourselves to be queer friendly, queer allies, like we're in this space where like that's what we grew up on, man. Like that was part of that was front and center in pop culture, and now it is in lots and lots of different places. But for example, Beavis and Butthead, absolutely one of the best shows of the 1990s, and here's why: because they talked about stuff that sucked. And
I've been rewatching the whole past.
You can't even tank a band or an artist in a record review anymore, because people will say like, oh, if you do that, then we're not only gonna pull our ad buys from your website. We're not sending you any advances. We're not giving you any scoops, nothing like that. And I think that's probably the pendulum swinging back from Pitchfork and other blogs being so absolutely cruel about their reviews. But the thing I really appreciate about Beavis and Butthead stuff. Oh, Buddyhead, those guys are nuts.
I can't find this review. If anyone can out there find the old Buddyhead review for the Juliana Theory, it was the funniest thing I ever read.
They were probably the coolest thing that was happening in LA in the early 2000s. They made Pitchfork look meek. They were frighteningly cool. Remember Aaron North, who used to play guitar in Nine Inch Nails for a little while?
I saw him in that in Nine Inch Nails.
God, what
that was like my least favorite Nine Inch Nails. I didn't like his band that much, but I liked the website. What was that
He-
band he was in?
Who?
The guy, Aaron North, Buddy Head.
Oh, Jubilee,
No, was it Jubilee?
Icarus Line.
Icarus Line, yeah.
That was, yeah, it was a band before. Jubilee was this kind of Oasis influenced band after he left Nine Inch Nails.
Right.
But yeah, it was like,
I
my
mean,
goodness.
Twiggy from Marilyn Manson was also on that lineup, so that was an interesting. He got canceled. He got canceled along the way.
Yeah, well, canceled. No consequences. Yeah, big
Right.
time. I mean, same thing with Marilyn
I'm talking
Manson.
about Twiggy. Manson's a whole another can of worms.
Oh my goodness, you could have a whole 3-hour conversation about that, especially in reflecting back on Manson back in the day. And you know,
I was a huge Marilyn Manson fan, so I'm not gonna say I wasn't.
I know, and I think that's the thing. Like, it's part of the discovery process. I mean, think about all the people who found out that Eric
And
Clapton
going
was
back to
a
Nine Inch Nails, when Kent was like, I just associated myself with that guy years ago because he's a terrible person. Then you're like, okay, I believe that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then a lot. I mean, goodness. I mean, I think he's still tied up in court. We'll see what happens. But think about all the people who listen to Eric Clapton playing the blues all these years, finding out that he's a hardcore racist in the
Right.
late 70s.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, it's very similar. And but anyway,
he didn't join the Beatles, I guess.
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a guy who I think he unfortunately basically nodded off like the first 5 years of the 70s. My goodness. I mean, he even admits that he was out to lunch after Blind Faith. But anyway, thinking about this photo here. This is our friend Jackie Jedlicka. This is an old Ford Fiesta in the background. I don't even think you're allowed to make cars like that anymore. Shout out to Peavy, who The Cure loved.
This is a backyard.
Yeah,
show.
we played In the Flesh by Pink Floyd as the opener for this show. So we're really into the Wall at the
And
time.
didn't we played that really cool song that's not on the album too. Shall we buy a new guitar?
Yeah, what shall we do now?
Yeah, that's not on the album, but it's in the movie. It's the best song on the fucking wall, and it's not on the album.
I don't know. That's one of those that was
That's really good. Yeah, it was Empty Spaces into that.
Yeah, it was yeah, I think that was just time limitation.
This is one of the best pictures. Too bad the drummer's not in frame, but we look phenomenal.
Yeah.
Again, this
oh
was
my
our
goodness.
dress up band. This was us out of character, you know, as different characters basically.
Oh
It
man.
was all
Meat Man shirt.
him.
Meat Man. Okay, this was summer 2001. Meat Man shirt, fake fur coat, skate jeans, and a beret. I
do
picked
have
up at a
video
thrift
of all
shop.
this stuff, but I feel like maybe the pictures should tell the legend at the.
I think that the pictures tell a wonderful story. I mean, just getting to play shows with like that.
Jackie's sister Jessica worked at the movie theater. On the live wall album. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
No, because that was by that time was
the show, but I can't believe they took the coolest song off of the album, man.
Yeah, I mean, whatchamacallit, vinyl is a hell of a limiting format, but
They had 2 vinyls.
yeah, but like they maxed out. Oh, by the way, like that, you know, that Pink Floyd. If you just think about it from a logistic standpoint, Roger Waters doing The Wall in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine how much work that was. Like,
oh, what an amazing show, though. Cyndi Lauper, the Scorpions.
But I'm just thinking about like the plane tickets. I'm thinking
yeah.
about like the really boring stuff that most people don't think about when you put on a big show like that. It's like it's such a big to do to get a whole bunch of celebrities together, And I'm sure there must have been somebody like, for example, a concert from Bangladesh. Clapton, I think they kept sending him first class tickets. He was deep into heroin at the time, so he was just missing flights. Just like they were like, we got like we think we got Bob Dylan. It's a question mark about whether or not Clapton is actually going to show, but they got him out. But anyway, besides the point,
I'm sure they had a gigantic budget.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Well, it was Alan Klein at the time, and same thing for Roger Waters doing The Wall in Berlin. Wow, no expense was spared.
And then here, this is in my basement.
This is
again with the Meat Men shirt.
Yep, this is that was a favorite. I think I still have it. That Adidas jacket is gone, which is unfortunate.
I still have that Guar shirt. I still wear it sometimes.
Yeah, this is us in
2001.
Yep, this is 2000. This is 2001.
21 years ago. This picture can drink.
Yep. This is
Cool.
what we were recording. Okay, so this is a second.
This
No,
was
excuse me.
some stuff that never really got released.
No, this was stuff that I think we
I
demoed
have
it.
some props. Yeah, it was demos.
Yeah, we demoed it, and then we would end up re-recording it with Dave Livingston
Yes,
on
which
drums.
I have. That's from the same session.
And this is my
that
friend.
was your like Minor Threat kind of photo.
Yeah,
right?
it's like Minor Threat, but like looking like a shitty Rodin. But my friend.
Oh, that's going too far.
Yep, that's my friend Sarah
We'll get
Levine.
to that. Where's I know I have some all right, here's some more Project Mayhem scam stuff. That one's out of order. That's
Yep,
us with the Guitars for Life festival.
Guitars for Life. We're Coheed and Cambria were playing. Were we playing, or were we just hanging out?
We were just hanging out.
You got, yep.
Keith opened
Yeah,
for Coheed and Cambria.
That was
It was the first, I think, first ever Coheed and Cambria show, I believe, under that name.
Yeah, because they had previously been called Shibuti, which is hilarious when you meet people and it's like, wait, you know those guys? I was like, yeah, we saw them back in the day. Small world. But yeah, they were living up in Kingston when it was long before it was fashionable. Everyone's rushing up there.
That's a great picture. There's the back door.
Yep, it's the back door with the kind of Cure type background, which I really like. Yeah, we recorded some songs and then ended up re-recording them with Dave, with Dave Livingston on drums. This is down in Long Island. This is a place called Hicksville.
I'm gonna get. I got those pictures from the recording session in here somewhere.
Yeah, and then like
hilarious.
Go back to the one of the Stephen Dedalus Rhythm Revolution, because
I found a video that you sent me of that band playing in like a party.
Yeah, it was it was actually a friend of mine, a friend of ours actually, who's just put out a book, and I can't remember her name. Shit. It was a friend of Emily, the other guitar player, who what you would call? Oh yeah.
Who took your Brittany?
I don't know who took her Brittany, but anyway, I think we got some heat for the show because the flyer had it was a KFC. It was.
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't have it in my slideshow, but you can describe it. I have it upstairs somewhere.
Yeah, what you call it? Just like it's important to provide.
I have everything.
It's important for me to provide some context because this is part of the scam story. I attended University of Maryland for undergrad from 2000 to 2004. It was great fun. I was a radio DJ. Also played in a couple of bands there. One of them was the Stephen Dedalus Rhythm Revolution. Very influenced by the Makeup. This is all drummer was from Jersey. The other two were from the DMV. Emily and Pablo. Matt, the bass player, who's now I think a chemical engineer, is from Jersey as well. And it was just kind of like influenced by the Makeup, and I was listening to a lot of Blur at the time. Was 13 as well as the self-titled album. Q Not You, still one of my favorite bands of all time.
Find this Britney that he's talking about. There's another one.
And yeah, I designed a flyer from an image I found at the college. It's on my amplifier, and you probably can't see it, but it's Colonel Sanders. And his eyes are blacked out, and over it says Black History. And I think it was just me being 19 and trying to be provocative. And I think that there was some concern at the back door about this flyer.
Because we were very much like a safe space sort of. Drug alcohol free, no controversy, please.
And I get it. And interesting enough, it wasn't
even
that much. Which
photo? I don't see it, Brittany.
Anyway, I mean, what's funny is like the following year we tried to do another show with Scam and a whole bunch of bands from all over Rockland, and it was going to be a big to-do at Zucker Park at the community center.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Oh man!
Thank God that didn't happen because I was so sick that night I wouldn't have even been able to be there. But
it was over winter break, sophomore year. And we decided, I think we should do a show. We should do a show of Scam and a whole bunch of bands. And so we got on the horn, contacted bands from all over Rockland, mostly Nyack, but also Nanuet and a couple of other places too. And we're working with the folks at the community center at Zucker Park, which is the big community center in town. They have a gym there.
We just wanted to make a show happen, like in a non-traditional place.
And a non-traditional space, because I was living in DC. I went to the last Wilson Center show. Got to see Page 99. Q Not You played. Was going to a lot of like house shows in DC. Like Maryland, University of Maryland is right over the line from Washington DC, So I would just take the metro in a lot. I was spending a lot of time at record stores, going to shows, like got to see Fugazi on their last round before indefinite hiatus. And so I was picking up a lot of the energy of like, hey, just find non-traditional spaces, house shows, community centers. And it didn't quite work out because I think the guy who Mr. Mr. Yachuk, and I think we called him Mr. Yuck. I think what
the
ended up,
basis of the green jelly logo.
yeah, I think unfortunately it was just, maybe it was permitting, maybe it was getting people on, because we were like, look, it's going to be drug and alcohol free, teenagers can come, and then I think it didn't work out. We weren't
No,
able to
but
get
you
it.
also booked a DWSS.
Was it? No, that was
Yeah, you tried to get them on the show.
yeah, you're right.
They
You're right.
were quite controversial.
Yeah, I won't go into that.
Right.
I would put a pause on that.
There's a lot of good reasons this show probably shouldn't have happened.
Mhm.
But we really tried to make it work.
We really tried to make it work, and it was, yeah, it collapsed in a heap, and I think a bunch of us ended up going to see, I want to say, Coheed.
I didn't go out. I know a lot of people were in the parking lot, like telling people it wasn't going to happen
Mm-hmm.
if they showed up. But I was so sick, I couldn't leave my room that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
We
It was
were
probably,
gonna play In My Eyes.
yep.
And I think Geek USA, maybe, by the
Yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
It's like one of the only things I don't have any kind of recording of us playing, which sucks, because what a crazy song that is. It's like progressive grunge, not punk rock at all.
It's also playing anything off of Siamese Dream is damn near impossible.
Dude, I never knew how difficult that shit was until we tried to learn that song, and I was like, what is happening here?
And it's all Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
It's all Billy Corgan.
All right, I'm
But
still trying to find this Britney, Keith. Which picture are we talking about?
keep going.
I'm going forward right now.
It's Matt Siegel. Shout out to Matt out in San Francisco.
Is
There we
Britney-
go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we did.
Yeah, the
bring Britney
Pepsi,
to
the
this show.
Pepsi, the
Either
Pepsi.
that,
Britney.
either that, or this was the era that would just be at a bar.
I wouldn't be surprised. Britney
Yeah,
Spears
that
was
might have just been there.
Britney Spears was on top of the world at that time. My
But
goodness.
this show was hilarious because this was like our one show tour into Long Island,
Yeah, and it was out on Long Island too. It was Hicksville.
Hicksville. Yeah, there
Yeah.
was nothing around anywhere.
Well, it was a strip mall bar, and what was really interesting too was that there was a band that played. There was a cover band that played "Sunshine of Your Love" by Cream, and
Are you talking about Kismet?
was it Kismet?
The,
Kismet?
the girl singer.
Yeah,
And, like, a huge drum set that Dave wanted to play.
yeah. And one thing I really remember about that was that the reason why nobody ever says
Yes, he still has the Britney.
bravo. The reason why nobody can ever sound as good as Cream playing "Sunshine of Your Love" is because you need Ginger Baker, and you also have to be playing at deafening volume.
Hmm.
You know, Cream were loud. I mean, you know, they bought in probably like the first Marshall stacks into a studio, which I imagine the engineers were just like, what? What are you doing?
No,
Anyway.
this band was like pure Long Island suburbia, like rich
Yeah.
kids.
It was bizarre. It's bizarre too because these are all suburbs of New York, and yeah, it's like
But
looking at people on another
I
planet.
love these photos that we
This
took
is
that day.
so 90s.
Oops.
It's so 90s.
Yeah, and Dave's got his backdoor shirt on.
Mhm.
Matt's got his punk rock jacket.
Yep.
You got your Beatles shirt. And then this photo also from that day. This was our mini tour with what were they called at the time? Burning in Water, Drowning in Flames. Which
Yep.
they hated when I said it, but I called them Boo Diff.
Yeah.
You know, I saw that's Dan Muhlenberg, dead center, right below me. I saw him last week as part of my Halloween sort of festivities. I was filming a band, and he was playing in a band.
Awesome.
I ran into him in Cat Ears, playing in Teen Girl Scientist Monthly.
Oh, nice. He's still playing with us. Great. I saw him.
I was like, I thought you quit this band. He's like, well, you know, pandemic happened, and then when you get an opportunity to play some punk rock again, he took it.
And you'll notice Mark wearing the Backstreet Boys shirt. I had that hand-drawn Destiny's Child shirt. This was long before it was
that. Yeah,
this was long before it was fashionable to jokingly wear stuff from pop music land. It was
this Yeah, this picture was particularly funny because when I was promoting my documentary a couple months back, or about a year ago, no, I don't know, something like that. Um, I did a YouTube show, a live show like this called the New York Hardcore Chronicles with Drew
Mhm.
Stone, and he picked some random pictures from my Facebook to like ask me about, and he picked this photo. And I was like, "That's funny that you picked this because right in the there's Jerry Joseph on the side there in the Nitro shirt, and he now plays in a hardcore band called Crippled Urn that is in that hardcore scene." So I was like, "That you actually picked a picture of somebody that you know."
Mm-hmm.
That's Jerry. He's in the
Jerry's the
hardcore
man.
scene, and I guess the Bronx hardcore scene.
Yeah, Bronx Hardcore is holding it down, man. They're doing it. They're doing things, yo.
Yeah. So that was so funny. I was just like, "That's so great that you picked just like cherry picked this photo." I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of like the crew at the time."
So wild.
There's the Destiny's Child
There you
shirt.
go. That was Morgan Storm. That's Megan Storm, I think it is, or is it Bethany Storm? I can't
I
remember.
think that was Bethany. Now that you mention it,
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
this was in Money Making Mount Vernon. You can definitely tell it's 2001, 2002 because look at the
Did you
gas
make that
prices.
Morgan Storm shirt as well?
Yes, I did.
Why did we like them? I don't remember much about
Because they
them.
were cool. They were super nice. I mean, you didn't have to do
How did
much
we know about them?
just from playing shows.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, we all went over. We drove over to
Okay,
Mount
here's the
Vernon.
Layman's Tools.
Yep. So this is the scam full length that we recorded at I want to say John Brand's house.
Yep.
In was it Nyack or was it West Nyack?
The detail there, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we did that in a day, I believe.
I can't.
And
I thought I found my Layman's Tools CD.
and
It's here somewhere.
I still have that shirt by the way.
But you know what? I can pull it up on Discogs because I don't know if anybody noticed, but I put the whole scene on Discogs.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
That's a proper archivist.
I had some time on my hands. So
I
let's look up.
still have that guitar strap. I think I want to say I used the Rickenbacker for this because I was relearning some of those songs recently and tried them on a.
No, I didn't put that one on here. Are you kidding me?
I think
Anyway,
I played. Yeah, I want to say it was a tried it with a Jazz Master recently, and it's like something doesn't sound right, and I was like, I knew it's a Rick. It's definitely a Rick. Hey, there you go. Here we are.
Yeah, well, we have the EP up there.
Nice.
See, yeah, I put you up here, man. Oh, I thought. Okay, let's see credits.
There we go.
Vonesper, Society Can't Accept Me. Yeah, I even put the Norman the Shake on here.
Yep. That was
Which I have here, right here. This is the actual copy of it.
Yep, that's a 4-track. That's a whatchamacallit. That's 4 and 8 track. 4 and 8 track recorded solo joint. It's mostly just demos.
I can't believe the Layman's Tools isn't on here though.
Isn't that wild?
I thought I did.
Very, very colors, like crappy drum machines, very lo-fi, and I think with a little bit like to your earlier point, I think with a little bit of finesse, I think with some love, I think some of that stuff could have gone somewhere.
Oh yeah, we should. The Layman's. There's John.
Yeah.
I was in his sister's band for a while.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, but it was like an all day thing and like just grinded it out, man. And it was
and it came out pretty good for like one. We did it Beatles style. We recorded and mixed it all in one day, I believe.
And
I
it's
do have
like
the master tape somewhere, but I don't know where they would play because it was such a strange machine that we recorded on.
Yeah, and I think what's even weird is like Dave is such a flashy drummer. I think the songs took on a very, very different shape compared to their
they
demo
could be
form.
smoothed out a little bit.
But
they should be.
But it was what it was at the time. It was reflective of what it was. It was a portrait of a moment. It's like taking a picture.
And did that come out in 2001? Is that or
2002?
Okay, so it's 20-year anniversary of the Layman
exactly.
Tools.
Well, everybody's anniversaries are late because of the pandemic. So
right. So let's get on that, man. Can we get Ken to do some drums on that or what?
Ken probably would. Ken is a brilliant.
He could one take all those songs.
Oh, he can. He's phenomenal in the studio. A great multi-instrumentalist too. That's Ken from the band Rasputin.
Didn't you have vinyl? Because I could only find my CDs.
Really? Yeah, we do have vinyl. I think. Let me see if I'm
pretty convinced that I have this on vinyl somewhere.
You probably do. You definitely do. We definitely pressed it. I think I definitely gave you a copy, but
Yeah, sure.
besides the point, yeah. Yeah, so that was what 2002, and then I took a little bit of a break. I went to France for a while, came back, finished undergrad, went back to France, started grad school. So there was really no time to be playing music until
All right, here's some pictures from the the last Project Mayhem show before we did a reunion.
so good with Matt Siegel.
Yeah, that was great.
Such a fun
Great.
dude. Yeah, I still
That's
have
the
that
best
cardigan, by
part.
the way.
And look, I'm wearing that shirt that I'm wearing right now.
Nice.
Or is that me? I think that's me. Yeah. Oh, that's not a show. That's you and my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, Jen, she's lovely. She's doing well.
Yeah.
I wish I still had those pants though.
Oh, this
Um,
was either Scam or Milton rehearsal at Jan's house.
oh yeah, yeah. We used to spend a lot of time in his basement, just like a little soundproof room. Um,
And there's
my
Milton
my
playing.
friend lost that show. So Milton, to provide some
Yeah,
context,
yeah.
was
Oh, yeah. I want to play at least the trailer of the Milton home video. I gotta pull it out.
you should.
But
Um,
tell him what it was in the meantime.
so summer of 2004, a whole bunch of us, myself included, all graduated undergrad, and I remember there was one really legendary night at Hook Mountain State Park. We're out
Yeah,
there on
that was the summer I graduated high school.
04?
No, this was 02.
No,
Milton?
Oh, you're right. Milton was 2002.
Yeah, the year my brother
2004.
got married in Brazil too.
2004 was when we were supposed to do what were we gonna do? I think we were gonna do a
I think we were gonna do a Scam reunion. Yeah,
scam reunion with Dan Muhlenberg on drums.
right.
We ended up doing something completely different. But anyway, summer 2002, I ended up recording a lot with Jerry Joseph that summer, which was really, really fun.
You
So
recorded stuff?
yeah, we just did some demos
where's
at his
that
house.
stuff? Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I got some, man. It's actually surprisingly good. But
I bet.
Jerry's it's dream pop basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were listening to a lot of My Bloody Valentine, a lot of Slow Dive. I saw both bands with Jerry when they reunited. And so Milton was the project we did in summer 2002 because there was a couple of people. I think Sammy from Three Monkeys Named Bob, I want to say, was either abroad or touring, and so we said we should probably do something. So we put together a super group.
Yeah, it was just like who's
around
these bands that we were friends with, and let's just put them all into a super group and play a song from each band and a couple of covers.
Yep, it was like myself on guitar, me, Ed, and Evan on guitars.
Yeah,
you on bass.
Three guitars for a punk rock band.
It was loud.
It was loud. Yeah,
it was really loud. I'm always grateful that I started wearing earplugs off the rip when I started going to shows because I've been in some loud rooms. I've played some loud shows. I've been to some loud shows. But yeah, this was a trailer that Kevin did for our summer together. We played a bunch of shows.
It's noisy. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit.
And we actually got to play a show with Decidia, which is
I have that CD here.
Yeah, Bjork's son, Sindri, who now lives in Seattle.
Sindri, come on the show.
Yeah, shit, I should have looked him up, man. Anyway,
he's easy to find.
Yeah, he's super nice. Yeah, we're still in touch actually, and actually somebody reached out to me about the photo that we all took. Bjork's son had a metal band, and he was there from Iceland for the summer. Bjork has an older son with her former partner and bandmate in the band, the Sugar Cubes. And him and all his friends were staying with her in Palisades, New York, not too far from where we all grew up and near where Bill Murray's house used to be. And, they were playing a show at the back door and we were all there. And it was the weirdest thing because Bjork was standing in the back parking lot and pregnant with her daughter, Isabel, with the artist Matthew Barney.
Yeah, and maybe I've been watching the Creamsicle series finally, but I can't officially say that.
Yeah, and so the reason why we turned the volume down on this video is because it was nothing but feedback, and it was feedback from a bunch of different shows, kind of edited together, if I recall. Just maybe it was one.
Yeah, that's how we would end the show, with just like a wall of feedback.
Yeah, it was so fun. It was really, really, really fun.
See, I should pull up at least one song that we did. That's something that's worth playing a video.
Oh yeah.
I think my favorite part of this home video is either Better Left Unsaid or or Silent? Should we play Silent because it's your song?
Sure, why not? The one which the chorus, I think, rips off High and Dry by Radiohead. Might be slightly different key. But yeah, sure, why not?
It's not like a great sound recording of it, but
was anything back then? No.
No, but the funny part about I don't even think I went inside for that show at the back door that night when Bjork was there. But I remember, I think the Paragraph played,
Mm-hmm.
and Claudio was there, and so what was his name, the singer of the Paragraph? Anyways, he was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, there's a celebrity here, someone with the voice of an angel, Mr. Claudio Sanchez." Yeah, but yeah, then we played this show called Rock Your Mama Fest in the town of Clarkstown Mobile Stage, I guess, whatever you would call that.
This is one of those stories where you're like,
and then Bjork's, so Decidia, here's their CD. I picked that one out. Little Too Late in the Ass Grabbed. He must be like 15 or 14 here. That's when we met him.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like a new metal band, basically. And so Bjork watched us play from the back of a pickup truck while his son was moshing to us.
It was wild. Great. They were so nice. It was really
fun.
We
were like friends with him for a couple of days.
Couple of weeks. We had pizza, man. We
had pizza after that backdoor show. Yeah. And I remember Matt, our singer here, was like, I'm in. He had a picture in the latest issue of like Alternative Press or something like that. It was from a Mindless Self-Indulgence show, which is a whole nother story for another time. But he's like, and Dashboard Confessionals on the cover. And Sindri was like, oh, yeah, he's got a little door to his heart. I fucking hate that guy. It's great. There we go. Not the best sound, but this is the Scam classic as played by Milton, Silent. And our only thing, the only request we had for attire was just wear all black, simple all black. And Evan shows up with a brown t-shirt.
I mean, Matt's not wearing a shirt, but it was great fun. I mean, we also played it was a Close My Eyes played, which was basically what would you call them?
One of those guys joined Vonesper for a minute.
You'd say they were a thrash band with a drum machine.
Yeah, and it was funny. Dan played with his other band before us, and it was just because Evan wanted Dan's band to hype us up and get like hyped up for the show. That's some great footage, though.
Yeah, this is very, very well shot.
What's his name? Quinn from the Rockin' World Radio shot that angle.
Yep. Yeah, I think I shared like a bunch of photos with him. He was some years back, but I was just also thinking about
Dan with his giant hickey on his neck.
Yep. God, it was so hard playing shows wearing glasses. I think that was.
So you got surgery.
So
you don't wear glasses anymore?
No, I got LASIK last year. I mean, my goodness.
How is that?
It's great. The thing about playing any type of show is like 5 minutes in, it's Sweat City. It always starts with the face, especially those lights were hot. It was a hot. This is suburban New York in August. I mean, it's like it's peak swamp.
You were pretty raucous.
That Rickenbacker was nasty to play because it was, if I recall, the binding was starting to come off at the nut, and it was throwing the low E and the A out of tune every now and again. And I took it to a luthier some years back. And
ironically, I think this is my only bass that still works. But if you want to see why all my guitars don't work, just watch me play.
Sweat City. What? I mean, I ended up selling that Rickenbacker some years back because I'd retired it for the longest time, and you know, I was just like, somebody who actually knows what they're doing should probably take some time to do this. And also, I had a buddy who would hook me up with another one for a really good price, and really lovely guy. Anyway, please, yeah, Milton was this was this
We
was
only played 4 shows.
played 4 shows, and it was a great summer.
Yeah.
Again, I was working for the Department of Health, and yeah, like before, yeah, this was like I think it was one of the last things I did. You know, we did some scam demos in February of 2003. And
yeah,
then
I want to go and re-record all those songs at some point too, because there's some great stuff that just like never got fleshed out on those demos. I actually have that right here. This is
nice.
the demo. This is the your handwritten set list for your demos. The concept songs and then the non-album, concept songs. It was like a 2-album deal.
Yeah, it was. I think I demoed
it all used to make sense. That's what you called it, apparently.
Yep. It was.
I don't remember what the concept was, though.
I don't remember what the concept was. No, the concept was
intro, Bella Ambition, Alter, A Nervous Kiss, Late Night Transmission, Watching You, theme from a spy film, A Problem, and Blue Bottle. What's the story here?
Oh yeah, there was a woman I'd met on the train in, I think it was November. Was it November of 2001? From where was she from? Kearney or from somewhere around the Newark area? So yeah, it's like Newark, New Jersey, and crushed on her for like a minute. It didn't go anywhere, but ended up writing an album about it. And there was another song there, Art School Girlfriend. It was this really.
That was on the non.
That was on the full band. That was I met it was a very cute Greek lady at this party.
Great song, Art School Girlfriend.
But it was
a hit. That's why we need to re-record it. Like we could still sell those songs.
It's so
you got to get that into fucking car commercials and stuff.
I mean, that's where you make your money is sync licensing now. But it's
let's sell out, man. Please.
It is. You know, I think at the
this
time,
is why we have a wall of feedback. You see, I turned the audio off, but we're just like kicking the shit out of our guitars here.
Sound engineer,
that guy ended up being a friend of ours who lived in Astoria.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, so he was in a noise project, industrial noise project called Better Left Dead Man.
Oh, I just saw Faith over there. Shout out to Faith.
Yeah, Sierra.
If there was an after-hours version of this, we show like the cool parties hanging out at Faith's house back in the day, or whatchamacallit. But we all have lives and jobs to be respectful of. But
Faith's house? I don't remember parties at Faith's house.
No, we would just hang out there. We'd just like hang out at her house and like listen to music.
I don't know.
It wasn't anything raucous.
No, yeah.
No, never. But
never, yeah.
But there was a bit of
There's some scam photos, I think.
I remember where did I get that England shirt?
Destiny's
I remember like the guy Bruxelles. The guy Bruxelles.
This was the Project Mayhem reunion show.
Yep. The songs were so fun. Confession.
Yeah.
Who's on drums? Yeah. Project Mayhem. Oh,
that was big.
I think I still have that shirt, by the way. I definitely don't have that hat.
Nice. Yeah, keep it, because when we revive Project Mayhem, it'll be
collectible.
Yeah. There's Faith.
Yeah, that's in your basement. Yeah,
that's my basement. Yeah.
Yeah, the Caltech shirt, which my brother hated.
Somewhere in my house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's for a different podcast, because that's.
I don't know. You got to show it. That's a great photo. So Kevin came down to visit me at Maryland, and we gave him like the full big state U tour. It was like
right after I shaved my head, I kind of went nuts for a minute.
Yeah, it was great because we were just like, all right, Kevin, you're coming down for the weekend. We are going to have some real deal fun. We're going to go to some frat parties. We're going to stay up
late.
We did.
I have a picture from. Oh, that's you in the
room. This is me and my boy Dan Brenner.
There's some pictures I couldn't show. Nothing like illegal, but just. And there's some girls I met. So
yeah, that's our neighbor Lauren.
For this night is, I think I had just gone through some kind of breakup, and I was really tired of my college, which I went to a commuter school which had a lower student population than my high school did. So when everyone left campus, there was like 100 of us. And trust me, after 2 years, that got real freaking boring. So it was the end of my time there, and I'm like, I gotta just make these weekend trips and go anywhere else to hang out, you know. And one that was the first weekend I went to uh, Maryland to see you, right? And then the weekend after that, I went to Ithaca to visit Evan. But this weekend, we went to this frat party, which this picture was taken outside of. This was the first weekend I ever drank, and we went. You took me to this frat party, which is I show up at a frat party wearing like fishnets and like whatever, and it was called an around the world party. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it was like
So,
there's a different drink in every room. Yeah,
yeah, and
just
I
like
didn't know how to drink, so the first thing I ever drank was a full cup of just pure vodka. And then,
it was,
yeah, and that
it
was
was
this night. Oops. And that weekend, oh, there's you from that night.
it was a cold one too, if I
Yeah,
recall.
and
But
I think the cops or something showed up, so everyone
yeah, the
like
cops,
ran out.
the cops broke it
Oh,
up
that's
typically.
your graduation party.
Yeah, that's
But
my.
this was from that weekend.
We had so
This
much fun.
was not any of our walls. This was a party we were at, and I just thought it was like this is a
Yeah.
great time for a picture.
Yeah, I definitely know that those guys did not wash those beer cans out before putting them along the
Oh,
wall.
I'm sure.
But
touch anything.
like it was for Kevin. It was like, hey, we were edge in
Oh,
high
wait.
school, and then we took you 0 to 100
Yeah,
your first weekend at
good thing
University of Maryland.
no one got the X tattoos because we were like, this works for us for now, but we never said it was going to be forever.
I think
I think it worked out well for us in that respect. You know, like
Absolutely.
we didn't get all fucked up in high school. We had fully functioning brains by the time we were corrupting it, you know?
Yeah, and also like I think the other thing about high school is like a lot of people did some dumb shit. And it's like
I didn't do that much dumb shit.
No,
I
no,
was
no,
just
no,
in a
like
punk rock. I know. I'm just
kids
saying
who were partying in
a
high school.
mission,
Kids
yeah.
who were partying in high school. It's not like who at 17 is just having a relaxing beer on a Friday evening after a
Yeah.
hard day at work. No,
it's
just
either
like
you're like totally wasted or nothing.
exactly. But yeah, it was really fun. But then you just showed a picture of another homeboy, Dan Brenner, aka Soon Come. I'd say
100
this
decibels.
is yeah, that
Right.
photo that you briefly flashed at.
Yeah, that was your graduation party.
my college graduation party. So it's like it's important. I got like the two most important music people in my life. Up to that point.
Oh,
you
know
had
what I need to find? That mixtape you did with him where you did all the see, that was an inspiration for my album, sort of.
Brenner's Breaks.
Yeah, Brenner's Breaks, because that was the first time you kind of was like a mixtape DJ type situation.
We did two of them, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 1 was
I don't know if I ever heard Volume 2.
Volume 2 is good, but Volume 1 was like we did the skits based around we imagined that Tony the Tiger was addicted to drugs and that Toucan Sam was a dealer, and it was crazy. Like we did it the end of my first year of grad school, Brenner's senior year of college, like just whenever we had time, or if we were throwing parties or making music, whatever. And I think Dan comes very much from the same school, grew up in suburban New Jersey, came up playing in punk bands. And I think the other thing that's really important too is that a lot of you can always tell those people who had that same experience. There's always like a little something. I have an old coworker from some years back. It was my first job in LA. I was working at a fashion website, and one of the new developers was being introduced. He was coming in, and it's this dude, thick glasses and sleeve tattoos on both arms. And he comes in, and he just like, I was just like, that guy looks cool. And then he told me recently, it was my friend Mark, who's in the band Puerta Negra from Portland, Oregon, and they're amazing. They're so good, so good. I'll send you some videos of that.
Yeah, send me some stuff.
Oh my god! So he said the same thing. Is just like I saw you like you're wearing a little jacket, but you had a Gang of Four pin on it. I was like, okay, and it's like those little things like that. It's in a place like LA where it's become very fashionable to wear any type of band shirt, or any type of subculture shirt. It can kind of be hard to tell like how people are signaling. So you kind of have to look for things that are a little bit more subtle, or you start talking to a person. And I think Dan and I have talked a lot about how you actually learn a lot of discipline from starting a band in high school because there's a whole bunch of shit you'd rather be
Yeah,
doing.
I feel like there's a skill set there, that we developed for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not just playing music, but organizing and getting together and still like not failing school and going out and playing shows and coordinating
Mhm.
rides and
Yeah, and then
booking.
eventually,
Back then you'd have to like call up places and email.
or right, yeah, and then when it came to be writing an email, it was you use the skills that you learned in junior high school about how to format a business
Right.
email
Yeah.
and sending that along, and
Book your own fucking life.
exactly, and that's
That was
something
the
that's
book that we used.
well, that's something that's
sometimes.
sorely missing now. A lot of people are not really keen on the idea of self-determination and making their own music.
And
and
even if
wanting
we
to
didn't
do
know
that
it at the time, that was something that was really born out of like Black Flag. Really paved the way for that whole.
Yeah,
thing.
my goodness, like it
That,
was,
like
and
just
it's
like underground culture. Like, hey, this guy will let you sleep on his floor if you tour this area.
mhm. And
whatever.
more importantly, a lot of it's not just that Black Flag paved the way; like they were the ones. It's really like it's 100% credit to them. But when you look at the bands that went on to become pop stars like REM, they've traveled the same trail that Black
Sure.
Flag,
I mean,
blazed.
REM, they're from Atlanta, right?
No, Athens, big
Athens,
difference.
Athens. Okay, yeah, them and like the B-52s, right? Like that was kind of like punk music in a
It
way.
was.
Like
It was a big college town. University of Georgia's there, and it was like there was a very freaky weirdo kind of
it's not
scene
the
there.
sound of punk, but it's the ethos of punk.
Yeah, and there was the exact same thing. They, the B-52s created their own wacky little universe, and God, what an amazing feeling for them to eventually go on
I just missed their last show
to become pop stars, or
in New York.
REM or Sonic Youth. I mean, Sonic Youth didn't become pop stars, but all three groups got signed to major labels.
I
So
think
to think,
Sonic Youth did all right. Yeah.
they it is a lot of it came from not wanting to wait around for somebody to do something for you, because I think about those bands that did get signed to major labels off top, 16, 17, maybe 19, and you're toiling away, and I think about all the records, all the album, actually more specific, all the CDs, which are the sole representative of a certain period because for some bands, because it's not on streaming because we have an issue because y'all didn't recoup when the album came out initially. So if we put it on Spotify, we get 100% of your streaming money, and also stuff where there's a dispute over who owns the masters, who is allowed to start hosting this on a streaming platform. And I think about that a lot. Like what do you give away when you sign to a major label?
Yeah, I don't
know a
know.
few
I've never
people-
done it, but I am.
know a
I
few
don't think
people-
we need them anymore unless you're like gigantic. They're kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, but even Taylor Swift is not on a major label, but she has her own issues right now with her former label, basically.
Right, that's why she's re-recording all her albums, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are you into Taylor Swift?
Not really. I respect
Because
her, but I don't know any of her
I
music.
respect it, but I know like she has such a hardcore cult following that I want someone to guide me through why. Like, why should I care? Because I kind of want to, but I just don't get it.
It's right place, right time,
But no, I mean, like, even just like, everyone's like, oh, there's all these like clues and stuff in her albums, and it's like a fun little like game.
And
And I'm like, I love that
world.
kind of stuff. My version of that growing up was the Paul is Dead. Like I love that kind of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Easter eggs and.
I think for Taylor Swift, I think the thing is that I think a lot of people who are her fans, they matured alongside with her. So as she grew up and her musical tastes started to branch out, and she stopped being just whatchamacallit. But yes, major labels do give you distribution and
if you are already a name, you don't need it anymore. Like even Guar started their own label, and now instead of having a record label, they deal with my friend Jason, who like gives them business advice.
Mm-hmm. But back to the the other thing about having a major label backing. We're thinking about the advantages. It's the money. It's
in the '90s for sure. Like they had so much money then back then.
They were basically printing money.
Dude,
it was
if we
terrifying.
were like 5 to 10 years older, we would have been signed no problem in the 90s.
But what I guess the question is then, what would it have meant? Would
It would have meant at least we had credibility to our careers in music right now. And a
I
cult
don't know.
following of some sort.
I think
I think.
there's
I
a
think we
different
could have amassed at least
there's
that.
there's a different lane for everybody in how they want to make music and how they want to, how they want to get it out to the public. For some people, they're content playing to 10 people, 20 people, 1,000 people. I remember reading an interview with John Frusciante where he said, he started to feel out of sorts when the Chili Peppers started playing places that were bigger than the LA Forum.
Right. If you do it right, you can.
If you do it right, but I think, yeah, you can. I think
Yeah.
it's like if you could get a major label to back you the way that they were backing bands in the 1990s, absolutely sign with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Or any label, like some people who will guide you, people who will like walk you through the process, people who will, if you're making sample-based music, they'll clear samples. If you want to work with a certain producer, they'll bring in that producer or somebody close to it. That was what the major label system did back in the day, is that it provided you access, it provided you distribution, it provided you with resources, it provided you with tour support.
Yeah.
It is. I think that's the part that is not talked about enough. Is a lot of bands were able to tour or get on certain bills because they got tour support.
But they also probably went in debt because it was all a guarantee, and they have to pay that back.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you have to recoup, but. And for some bands, what would end up happening is that maybe the recording itself didn't take that long, but maybe you signed up with a producer who cost beaucoup dollars. You signed up with a very expensive producer, who wants points, significant points. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can go wrong. I think the last era in which there was like early 2000s was the last era, like right before the Apple Store really fundamentally changed music. Yeah, touring changed. You buy your way onto a tour.
So touring costs money, not even just traveling in a bus and paying ridiculous prices for gas, but you have to buy onto the tour too.
And also your venues are taking a cut. More
even
often,
the merchandise. Yeah.
Lean bands are, it's challenging to do a big tour with a lean crew. Some groups have done it just to be stubborn, but it used to be, it was a real thing of honor if a group that was at theater or stadium level bought your up and coming group on a tour, because they were exposing you to their fans. And a lot of us did get into certain bands because such and such bought them on tour.
I got into the Meatmen because Guar brought them on tour.
There you go.
I didn't see the show, but I was aware of it enough to be like, oh, let me check this band out.
Yeah, and also I think to really dive deep into it with the music industry, another key issue right now is that it's a lot of really boring people in it. The best and brightest are not being attracted to the music industry. A lot of them are in tech, or they're not even in the arts world, period, or maybe they're in the Web3 space. You're not getting, for example, I had a friend in DC who went on to be a drummer for the artist MIA. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, and previously she was an intern.
Were you with us when we saw her at Coney Island?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, summer 2005. It was great fun. At Siren Fest.
Siren Festival, yeah.
Which used to be held by the Village Voice, RIP. And just thinking about back then, that woman, whatchamacallit? Oh, Placebo are amazing. All the skateboarders are loving Placebo now. The young kids, they're just like, what is this? It's so cool. It's like, y'all have a lot to learn. Also, all the cool girls like Placebo. Right. But anyway, yeah.
Shout out to Sasha.
Hey, Sasha, what's good? But here's the thing. This woman actually, who was an intern for Interscope Records when she was at Georgetown University, ended up helping design their analytics program. So think about this. Major label did not have at the time an in-house analytics program or digital analytics program. I think the fact that a lot of people aren't going and doing cool stuff in the music industry, that it's shrunk so much, that a lot of the labels have shrunk so much. Oh God, it is. They have less power. They can't bring on the same type of talent. The salaries that they're paying are not really, they're not competitive for people who want to work their way up. And a lot of the people who are our age or younger who are in the music industry are fucking corny. They really they don't know a lot about music. They are not fully, you know, they're not be able to rattle off names quickly. They have one particular name. Like one of the big issues in hip hop right now has been that a lot of the people working in the on hip hop in major labels only listen to rap music. The best hip hop producers, the best rappers never just listen to rap.
Yeah.
They listen to everything. That's where sample culture was. Like you sampled
I mean,
everything, you listened to
even go
everything.
back to Rick Rubin, like he was doing the hip hop and then he was doing Slayer, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
then
then
a
the
lot
Beastie
of
Boys, like Jesus, listen to Paul's Boutique.
it's amazing. And yeah, that's with the Dust Brothers. And I remember, but it was also for a lot of rappers too. I remember there was an interview recently with the guys from Onyx, and they said, you know, what made you guys come up with the song Slam? And they said, we loved Smells Like Teen Spirit. We saw that video. We loved the song. We wanted to write a song.
I'm muted.
We
I
wanted to
was saying Biohazard.
and then they end up doing that. Oh, by the way, Judgment Night. What a soundtrack. Sonic Youth and Cypress Hill, De La Soul and Teenage
Faith
Fan
No
Club.
More, Booyah Tribe.
It was,
Yeah, fucking Biohazard and Onyx.
the movie is
The
mid.
guy who directed that video is Drew Stone. Who's the show that I went on, who showed that picture of us.
Really? Well, the
Yeah.
funny thing is, like, the movie is mid.
The movie
you know, it's
sucks. Yeah,
like it's
the
typical
soundtrack
'90s
is
shit.
legendary.
Well, that was a normal thing in the '90s. People saved great songs for soundtracks. Like,
Oh,
what-
Helmet, and someone. Yeah.
I still can't. By the way, I
House of
still
Pain,
can't believe
maybe?
that. I genuinely can't believe that Helmet were on a major label. You could say that for a
I love
lot of
Helmet.
bands.
Yeah. I think I
even-
saw him play with David Bowie too.
Oh, with the 50th anniversary joint?
I don't remember what.
Oh no, his
song.
50th birthday party. Excuse me.
No. He was actually his guitar player. My brother was at the 50th birthday party,
with-
but
with the Pixies,
saw-
Sonic Youth. Oh, excuse me, Frank
no,
Black.
he was actually David Bowie's guitar player for a while.
Really?
Yeah, Paige Hamilton. Pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, actually, think about this. Like, marinate on this, because I think it's last year or this year's the 30th anniversary of Rage Against the Machine's debut album.
Sounds
The
about
video
right,
for
yeah.
Freedom is basically tells the story of Leonard Peltier
At Roseland. We saw him at Roseland.
and whatchamacallit, and the American Indian movement. I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, this was a heavy rotation video showing some really out like the fringe of radical politics at the time. You know, America was pretty square in the 80s and 90s. And here was MTV just showing Rage Against the Machine talking about the American Indian movement and giving them a platform. I mean, very similar to what Epic Records or CBS Records had done for The Clash. And in that aspect,
One
it
of
can be
those
really,
bands that formed in the Green Jelly Circle
yeah.
in LA.
But I think a big part of it was that nobody knew what they were doing at MTV, and that's where the coolest shit happens. Is that they were willing to take a chance, and
Especially
I think also
on the off hours.
yeah,
Alternative Nation, 120 minutes. Headbangers Ball.
mm-hmm. Amp. What was the other one? They had a techno show too that was actually really good.
Nice.
I can't remember the name of it. Was it Amp? No, Amp was
I don't
no.
remember Amp.
There was Super Rock, which was just basically straight up rock videos. Here's the other thing: music videos were a point of entry for a lot of great visual artists. Like David LaChapelle, the photographer, did the video for "Not If You Were the Last Dandy on Earth" by the Dandy Warhols. It's a Dayglow Candy music video. Capitol Records spent a lot of money
David
on it.
Fincher started in music videos.
Yeah, Samuel Bayer, Valerie Dayton and Jonathan Farris, Spike Jones. Spike Jones, who started off as a skateboard and BMX photographer, then skateboard videographer, does 100% for Sonic Youth, and that kickstarts his music video career. And a lot of really talented people going into the music video space meant that us kids at home were being exposed to a lot of really out there, in some cases, confrontational or radical art. And so it meant that a lot of us who were curious would go out and seek out stuff that looked like what we were seeing or sounded like what we were hearing. And because music video budgets have been cut, I remember I was watching a video at the gym some time ago, and I remember it was a R&B joint, two black guys in a convertible, and I noticed both of their faces were shadowed. I was just like, my God, nobody took the time to actually light this up correctly for people with dark skin in the shadow, with the shadow of the truck. And I was like, then I realized like they've really stopped investing in music videos because like that's a very like that's cinema 101. So music videos are not attracting people who are trying to make a statement. I mean, you know, you go to you look at Peter Gabriel, who swept the VMAs. I think it was '86, and when Missy Elliott recently won a VMA, you know, she said one of the people that she thanked, you know, she got a Lifetime Achievement Award. One of the people she thanked was Peter Gabriel. You know, and
Sledgehammer, man,
great song. I mean, like, and Peter Gabriel's catalog up to that point is great, but when he went pop, my God! But that video,
same with Genesis.
Yeah, exactly. Like the video is like it's funny. Like there's people who
Land of
complain.
Confusion.
Oh yeah, that was that's Spitting Image. That's a British. That is a British
satire,
political satire. Scared the shit out of us when we were kids.
Oh yeah, it was super creepy. Yeah.
Well, also like the nuclear thing. So people who are a little older who remembered how bad things were in the Cold War. Wow. Oh, and of course one of the greatest videos of all time. Right? The first rap video of all time. Shit.
Which one?
Duran Duran's Rio. The outfits.
I guess so.
They're on yachts. It's a rap video.
That's a funny like. What I think in high school you bought me Rio for a birthday gift, and you were like, you might not get this now, but later you will, and you were totally right.
It's so good. They're
great album.
But there you go, and also Duran Duran.
Because I was like so punk rock. I was like Duran, what the fuck?
Yep, there you go. But here's the other thing about Duran Duran is that, you know, EMI, you know, that was their second record. Talking Heads getting to do more songs about buildings and food, Fear of Music, and Remain in Light with Brian Eno at Compass Point Studios in Nassau.
You had a few albums to make it. Now it's like, well, if you don't make it on your first single, you're pretty much shelved.
Not just make it, they invested. They got Brian Eno. They did the whole tax cheat thing. Yeah,
Blondie. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Blondie beat the Clash by It was next level creativity, and you got so many really fascinating and brilliant people in a space making stuff. And so as kids, how could we not want to react it and be influenced by it? That doesn't exist on MTV right now. That doesn't even exist in mainstream culture, a place where you could really see high art, you know, just on regular TV. I mean, granted,
Three Little Pigs.
There you go, like great piece of stop motion, like all the Tool videos.
That was the same guy, I think.
And like the other thing was like the type of creativity that MTV fostered. I don't think they realized what they had, and I think when they made the pivot away from music-centric programming,
because they didn't own those videos, so they couldn't make money off of them.
But you could re-release. You could do that now, and just like, oh, this is a curated television experience. People would probably. I don't know why they
don't. That's so crazy that like curated music video experiences aren't
exactly because like the thing is everybody can watch whatever videos they want, legacy or current, on YouTube. Nobody wants. That's peak democratization. But it's nothing like.
But I want Matt Pinfield talking about it in between, you know.
I want Fab Five Freddy, who did Yo MTV Raps. Yo MTV Raps. One of the most important things that they did was they exposed regional hip hop. They went to Memphis and they were with 3 6 Mafia. They were on Staten Island with Wu-Tang Clan. They were going to different places and they were showing the hip hop culture in those places. They're interviewing rappers. And yes, it is all on YouTube. But the thing is, when that joint is on, when you don't know what video is going to come next, you see like a Wu-Tang doing Protect Your Neck. And then immediately you go into Onyx's Slam. And, you know, somebody taking
Billy
that time.
Bio, a fan of VonEsper, by the way.
Yeah. You know, like when you're taking the time, when you're taking the time to do that, you know, when you're really taking the time to figure out how to curate a creative experience and you're putting on a platform like MTV, it's incredibly powerful. But I think that a lot of the very, you know, Mike Nesmith from the late Mike Nesmith from the Monkees, I think he actually came up with the idea. The original was called Pop Clips. People thought he was crazy.
I mean, the Beatles were one of the pioneers of it too. They were like, instead of press tours, let's just send them a video.
And think about seeing something like Strawberry Fields and how out of this
What was
world.
the
That
first
was.
one? Rain, maybe.
Yeah, Rain and Paperback Writer. You know, they did like miming promos for, you know, as early as 1964, but you know, it was 65, 66 that you started to
It got
get some.
creative.
It got creative, and it's the music documentaries have gotten a lot of appreciation, but now there's so many of them. I mean, I just saw a
Don't
great
say
one.
that because I'm making one.
No. There's so many of them that it feels like there should be a repository. Like, would it be a what you call? Oh yeah, Guns N' Roses. By the way, my first guitar hero, Slash. Absolutely.
I saw him do a couple songs with Miles Kennedy, but I never saw him with Guns N' Roses.
Never saw him with Guns N' Roses, but I do have
I've seen Guns N' Roses, but not with him.
I have an old copy of Guitar Player. A coworker of mine gave an autographed copy of Guitar Player with Slash's autograph.
Oh wow!
Which I thought was just like the coolest shit because he was this ex-football player, super metal dude, and then he was like, "You like Guns N' Roses?" I was like, "Fuck yeah! Are you kidding me?" Oh yeah. By the way,
like Guns N' Roses.
Estranged. Yo, with the Dolphins. I mean,
yeah, that's like that was like a whole movie concept he was trying to do, and of course, November Rain was I think like one of the most expensive videos to date at the time, or something like that, right?
I mean, don't
he was they were on kind of another level on the music video tip.
Oh, one of the best music videos that probably should almost got. This is peak Hollywood. I've been here long enough. I've learned a little bit about how these things work, but Tom Petty, Into the Great Wide Open with Johnny Depp. I think if I recall, a whole bunch of people were knocking on Tom Petty's door, be like, "We want to option this, like the story you told, you know, we want to option this and turn it into a movie." Like they wanted him to sell the rights to the song, like maybe help write a script, like a quick script, and like get that shit the treatment.
Probably would have happened.
No, it never happened. It probably would have been a great movie. But the thing is, how could you beat the music video? The A&R man says, "I don't hear a single."
But that came later. It came a couple of years later.
Yeah, bro, that was a corny, like, expensive video. Guns N' Roses had Axl Rose diving off of an oil tanker and swimming with dolphins in his signature Converse.
Speaking of music videos, I think that's a perfect segue to talk about my album again, which I'm still in the process of making all the videos, but you were a big part of it. I think there's a whole era that we didn't even get into of your music career and everything. I think we need to save that for a part 2.
I think we should do a part 2. We just figure it out. I'm down to come back.
Trust, you're definitely going to be a repeat guest because
I have many stories of playing music up and down the East Coast from 2007 to 2014. It was that shit was a wild time.
I want to thank you for being on my album because I know sometimes when I ask people to do things, like when I have an idea, I'm just like, I need to at least put it out there and see what happens with it, even if it's stupid. And I was like, you're the perfect person in my mind for this role on my album, and you nailed it.
It's funny. Like one thing I've learned is I took a design course some years ago on iterative design and about not thinking too much in the creative process, and it's kind of it was really about continuous improvement and also kind of removing some of the self-consciousness. And that's something I found that really helped me get out of a sort of like a block. So like when this opportunity came on, I absolutely jumped on, even though I had no idea what I was going to do. So I actually had to sit down and kind of script it out.
I put a lot of information out there about.
But that was what was really helpful.
Sort of, and
that was really helpful because then that allowed me to just spec out what exactly it is I was going to do and say and I think what's interesting about
it is the narrator, the party host, if you haven't figured it out yet.
Well, the thing is also like I love concept albums because they're hard as hell to write. It takes an incredible amount of discipline. If you want to talk about one of the best concept writers of all time, Roger Waters.
We could talk about Roger.
We could talk a lot about
conversation too.
Oh yeah, but the thing I love about his songwriting, you can tell that when he delivered, say, The Wall or the final cut to Pink Floyd, that he had put in all of the legwork, of telling a story and making sure that there were no plot holes and making sure that it was interesting from start to finish. And that's the thing about The Wall is that, there's great singles that came off of it, but it's the narrative. And then his later stuff, like, was it Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, Radio Chaos?
Radio Chaos.
You know, it
People
is.
know all about that.
Yeah, it like, you're right. That is like a whole other conversation. Like,
Yeah, we could go all night about Roger Waters.
and also, I think the other thing is too, as I've grown older, and you know, you learn more about the world and you read more, you really learn to appreciate that Roger Waters' his skepticism, and in some cases his cynicism or bitterness, is pretty well rooted in a world that's continues to fall apart.
Have you been following his interviews and stuff?
Yeah,
did you listen to his Joe Rogan podcast?
It's not surprising. That's the thing.
To.
He's fun to listen to. But the thing is, I think The Wall, he absolutely nailed it, and also the final cut, because you could feel like absolute rage that he had. You know,
you ever see The Wall live?
No, I never got to see The Wall.
We saw it in New Jersey. I guess like 10 or so years ago now. It's phenomenal.
One of my old classmates from Maryland, I don't know if they were touring with him then. The Resilient Band, it's a lot of ex-wounded people from the Wounded Warrior Project do music as art therapy. So my friend Greg has been volunteering for that for years. Shout out to the homie Greg Chef. He's from Bordeaux. Yeah, he's had nothing but wonderful things to say, and like just stand-up guy, super professional. Also, it's kind of like Roger Waters is not afraid to be perceived as or viewed as being a total dick, because he's really thinking about the service. He's like, I'm working in service of the song. You could hate me now.
Yeah, Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche, and Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater.
Yep. But like Roger Waters, to me, I think it's like it's peak, just because his also
my concept album's a little bit more accessible and lowbrow.
Exactly. But you know, I think
this concept album is, this is me, hire me, I write cool songs. Basically.
But it was also, I think it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to do it. And I think also like the fact that you've also been such a rigorous and really thorough archivist is really awesome too, because man, like the really important thing about being able to do that archive work is when you look back on 20 years ago, or in some cases, some of this stuff 30 years ago, you really get to see that you can do things so much better now. Like we could talk about how we could have recorded songs better. Maybe we could use a different guitar. Or maybe we should have worked a little harder on that drum part. But what you're getting to see is that you were really exploring when you really get to reflect on how you were exploring, because not only do you have hindsight about the music you've made, but also who you've become as a person. So you know, you're in the space now where you are obviously a better musician than you have ever been, and you've always been good, but now you also have so many of these other skills, and also technology is caught up in a way
that's the most important part. Now I can do all this on my fucking laptop. You know,
you can do it on your laptop. We can do all this stuff remotely. You don't even need to have that great of gear. I mean, like I don't
have great gear. I have a shitty microphone. I have this one Focusrite that I'm using right now.
I got the same one.
Yeah, that's
I got the same one.
You really need.
It's really
digital sounds.
Oh yeah, like a lot of plugins. I mean, like a lot of the Rasputin stuff, like a lot of stuff, like the Brock we were doing was, we settled on Ableton. We settled on Ableton, but a lot of the bass was mostly DI. Guitar, very live complex signal chain or complex-ish. Like recording, I was just like, it was chorus and maybe a Proco Rad distortion going through a Fender Twin. And I think the other thing is we had some friends who were working at a group called Load Runner, which eventually became a band called Miyazaki. They used 80s sequencers on stage, which is insane because you know how much work it takes to program a beat or to program a synth part into a sequencer. You learn a lot of you. I mean,
I've never done it, but it seems very difficult, and the equipment is like very large.
Well, the interesting thing is all those guys like Brock, our friend Eddie, and our friend Scott, who just put out some new music recently. They were they're all electrical engineers, so they were up for the task of not only restoring or repairing some of this equipment, but also in some cases, basically, doing some circuit bending to make some really wild sounds. But anyway, back to Welcome to My Pity Party.
Yeah,
I think
should we play the promo?
Yeah, let's play the
play
promo, and
the
then I'm probably
promo.
gonna
And
go.
then-
I'm probably gonna go eat dinner. But
Yeah, me too, dude. It's like 3 hours later here.
we could probably go. But I think we should. We'll talk offline
We'll,
about doing
Yeah,
Washington
this.
D.C.
I'll ask you a couple closing questions. I think we're almost at 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think we can make it there, and then close it out.
Let's do it.
Feel like? All right, here's the promo.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Welcome to my pity party. Everyone's invited. Celebrate your misery. Apart but united. Hits. I'm writing hits. Recording hits.
Comment below! Comment below! Comment below!
It's out now on all the streaming platforms.
Like,
and
comment,
TikTok,
subscribe.
Apparently not Instagram yet, which I'm just like, God damn it, I'm in that queue somewhere.
Take a number complaining about Meta.
Oh my God. But then here's the thing about my physical copies, which are all hand-drawn covers, as you can see here. One of them, my favorite one I picked for the album cover digitally. It's a different mix and master of the record on there that's a little bit more explicit. So it's a whole different, slightly different experience, and plus a bonus track. If you get the physical release, all the digital stuff, even on Bandcamp, which I think there's a Bandcamp Friday coming up. Is it tomorrow?
Yep.
Tomorrow, Bandcamp Friday. Wait a couple hours and then buy my record.
Do it.
And then
Wait.
I get all of the proceeds.
Oh wait. It's 11:30 by you, so
Wait about 20-30 minutes and then buy
Yeah.
my album if you're
and
on
if you're on the West Coast, wait till tomorrow morning. Do it with breakfast.
It might be West Coast time. It might be 3 a.m. So just do it tomorrow.
Exactly. Tomorrow morning.
But yeah, the whole point of this series of my show here was to talk to people who were involved on my record. Of course, you come back in any context. We saw Brian Biglione. He's the drummer from the Dresden Dolls. And I see Valerie just popped into the chat from Putty Root, which is a whole nother project we're still trying to get off the ground after 20-something years. Yeah, it's cool. There's 2 more albums coming. There's this whole pot of material that I cooked up during the pandemic. It's enough for 3 albums, so I'm just doing them one at a time. The other 2 are going to follow quickly because they've all been developed at the same time. So look out for that, but buy the record. Pat, are you still writing music, and when can we expect your solo record?
Still tinkering.
Yeah.
Was doing some demoing last year. I think I was mostly focused on work stuff, like still playing. Like I still play a lot at home.
Playing along the records on Instagram all the time and stuff.
I was
like that.
jamming with a few people late 2019.
Okay.
And I think that's where I was getting I wouldn't say the spark. I think I was getting that place. I was like, okay, I think I'd be interested in maybe putting something together. Plenty of friends moved out here from New York and from Washington.
And again,
playing music.
we can work remotely too. So
exactly. I think also I have a pretty decent workspace here too. I think it's just been like it's a time thing. It's
what's
part of me that does want to
album going to be.
I could probably, what? I'm happy about the fact that I haven't forgotten how to play any of the songs from back in the day. That's a really good feeling to be like, okay, like this is not. I've heard some stories about people who picked up, we're doing a reunion, and somebody was like, I haven't played bass in 10 years.
Yeah, we got to watch some YouTube tutorials.
Exactly. It was like, I'm going to need some help. So, but Yeah, I think honestly, I blame the pandemic to a degree because like that in like I was
I blame the
in
pandemic for having this record.
yeah.
It's the opposite.
I feel kind of like there was like I was in that correct headspace to be like, okay, yeah, just we just Rara Rasputin working remotely. We just
Right.
released a song from 2014, and
Yeah, I
we
was going to
were
mention that. Yeah.
so happy
Check it
about
out.
that.
There's a music video and it's on Spotify and everything, right? That was a
Exactly.
surprise. I was like, new Rasputin. That's cool.
Yeah, it felt great to do it, and like that's the thing. Like we were just talking about how much easier it is to get music out there now. You know, it's hard to get your stuff on playlists. A lot of that is just pay to play, which I'm not interested in. None of us are trying to make a living from this.
Yeah. Good luck.
But
Is it on Bandcamp?
yes, it is on Bandcamp.
Let's
All
pull
of our
that,
like
yeah.
I think our complete works to date are all on Bandcamp. But yeah, I'd like to think that I was working on something last weekend that I felt really really good
Go
about.
buy it tomorrow, Bandcamp Friday.
Exactly.
How am I not following you? That's crazy. I'm following you right now.
There you go. Yeah, like Ken and I were talking recently. He said like, I don't know how we would ever make this happen, but I really like the idea of a rah-rah reunion. I just like book the
Did
show.
you ever officially break up?
No, the band is on indefinite hiatus because
Right.
we all still talk. We're all still
Yeah.
in group chats, Everybody who was, there was only 5 of us who were officially in the band, 4 at any given time. Anna's in Portland, Brock is in San Francisco, I'm down here in LA, Ken is in Baltimore, Josh, who also played guitar, is also in Baltimore. But the music ecosystem has changed too. A lot of the places where you can kind of just, yeah, good point. It's much easier to buy ads on social media than it is to go and try to buy your way onto one of these artist direct playlists or whatever, which is, Payola 3.0 at this point.
Yeah. Go check out Rara Rasputin and Kevin Vonesper on Spotify and put that shit on your playlists, man, because we're grassroots here. I don't have any budget. This is my budget. I'm doing this show to promote my album, and to
Exactly.
have
Like
fun.
there's no Gene from the marketing department isn't here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just us.
So let's close on this. If you're a fan of Pat talking, you can hear you talk almost every week on a podcast.
Yep, the
You wanna
Mostly
tell
Skateboarding
us
podcast.
about a little bit about this.
A couple years ago, I had put together a spreadsheet called the Blacklist to promote.
That was us in LA last year.
Yeah, that was really fun. I can't believe you found that Adolescence record. Did you
And
buy
I
it?
got it signed because that singer of the Adolescents was in my documentary, so I was going to see him like the next day.
Nice.
Yeah.
We met up. Me and Kevin, like we got to do another one. I was just like, Kevin's in town. Okay, we're going hanging out on the Sunset Strip. So we went to the Rainbow where R.I.P. Lemmy used to hang out.
And then I wanted to go to the Whiskey, but it was just too expensive, and we didn't.
It was a show, and like you ain't missing much. We went to the real deal.
The Green Jelly show is moving out of his living room and into the Whiskey starting in November. So you should check it out. It's going to be free. Still.
I'm down. That's the other thing. I've been very excited about seeing shows recently, just because the better part of 2 years not seeing live music killed me. But I'm going to see Suede and the Manic Street Preachers next week at the Palladium. Anyway, I've been doing a skateboard podcast since I did a spreadsheet about Black-owned skateboard businesses.
Right. I have that in a magazine, I think, right?
Yep. And I was,
I should have brought that out. It's in my closet somewhere.
Hey man, we could do this on round 2, but yeah,
exactly, round 2.
I did a couple of episodes with the Mostly Skateboarding guys, and they said, "Would you like to join the pod full time?" I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So we talk about a wide variety of stuff. We talked about recent scandal where the U.S. Olympic skateboarding team might be decertified by the Olympic Committee because of their failure to just do a whole bunch of paperwork. Typical skateboarders.
Not because they're high.
No, just like failing to do like financial disclosures, background checks, things like that. Just normal stuff that if you are in a professional sports governing body, you should just do.
Right. But I guess they do have some dubious pasts.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of people who just like, I've never worked in bureaucracy and have never had to, just be submitting stuff and stay on top of certain things. But that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
But yeah,
go listen to the podcast to hear about that. Right?
Yeah, but this has been an extreme pleasure. It's funny. We spent the whole time talking about Rockland and Scam and Project Mayhem, and pretty much up until about 2004.
Yeah. So we got the college era almost coming.
Yeah, almost. But
so maybe next time you release a single or a rah-rah track or something, come back on.
I'd be down. I'd be more than down. I think we're trying to put out another one, but this was really great. Thank you so much for having me, Kevin.
And then I want to promote the few shows I have coming up.
When are they?
This is next week, right? Yeah, November 10th. I got Slim from Green Jelly, who I just went on tour with her, and Thinky Flesh, and just you might not know anything about this, but you are going to want to because it's awesome. And then Imani Coppola is going to be here. She's another this is still in my series of people who worked on the album.
She's so cool.
Slim is on the album. Imani Coppola is on the record. Just brilliant songwriter. Check out Little Jackie, one of her side projects, just put out some new EPs, and they are hilarious, incredible. You gotta check it out. Did you know Legend of a Cowgirl back in the day?
Of course, that was a Buzzbin. Come on,
I
man.
totally missed it. I had no idea who she was back then.
I think the thing that put me onto it was the Donovan sample, Sunshine Superman.
Yeah.
It was really it was a clever flip of it.
She was like 17 when she made that or something. Straight out
Are
of
you serious?
She just left SUNY Purchase, where I graduated from.
Oh my gosh, she was so good.
So I've been working on projects with her for like 10. I think I've known her for 15 years now, which is just insane. This is going to be a fascinating episode.
Oh, I'm definitely tuning in for that.
Tuning in for that. And then Thanksgiving night, if you got nothing to do after stuffing your face, come check out. Hopefully we're gonna have a new Total Stranger song or a Dedicate song. I don't know, but Keith's gonna come back on, not because of nepotism so much, but just because it's actually his birthday. So it's
happy birthday in advance. Yeah, man. Yeah. Like shout out to the Parker Fly, one of the most comfortable guitars I have ever played.
And light as a feather.
Yeah, which, oh my God, like especially when recording where you don't have to worry so much about an aesthetic or a certain whatever, like you pick up whatever the first thing that sounds good and is versatile. God, that drum was so good. Yeah, shout out to Keith for putting us on to the Parker joints, but then also the Roland Jazz Chorus. Like the Boss CE1 or the Roland CE1 chorus ensemble is based off of the jazz chorus circuit. That is the best that's the best chorus. Nothing else can top it.
I don't have flyers for these yet, but December 1st, Martin BC. You know anything about Martin BC?
No.
And BC Studios, Greenpoint. Oh, there's a whole documentary, and I have to watch it before the show. So
all right.
It's a
if you got a link, let me know.
Thing. I think he may have worked with Sonic Youth and stuff like that back in the day.
Okay,
it's like the Bill Laswell's world a little bit.
Yep. Okay, so maybe I wonder.
He produced the Dresden Dolls record.
I wonder if his name is familiar because
I think he did the board. I think he recorded the Boredoms, even stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Now I need to check this out.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And then what do I have? December 8th, Jeffrey Rangstock. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but I just shot part of a short film for him that was just screened on Tuesday in Brooklyn. And so we're going to talk about that. And then Lexa Terrestrial is going to come up, hopefully the 15th or the 22nd. She's the rapper on the record, and she's an alien, and she lives in Pittsburgh now. So that's what's coming up. And then it's almost New Year's after that. It's fucking crazy, man. 2023 is coming up.
Good riddance to 2022.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, thank you so much. We'll definitely have to. You're going to be a recurring guest because this is such an easy conversation with you.
Oh, thank you so much.
It was stuff to talk about.
It was a pleasure. Yeah. I might have to. I have a pair of external hard drives with a ton of photos from.
Yeah, send them to me. We'll talk about them.
Not only this era, but also from Rah era. A lot of, and thankfully, back in the day, I'd organized it lightly, but I used a part of the pandemic to go through and clean a bunch of that stuff up. So, in fact, maybe I'll start doing some of that tonight.
Cool. Yeah, it's always good to be prepared, you know.
Because I have a lot of videos too of not just Rah, but other bands from that scene and that era. So, can paint a pretty vivid portrait of a wild time.
Sure. Well, I think I'll close it out with hits. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to play hits, and then we're out of here. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Hits. Oh, hits. Patreon and hits for free.
This is the hit that spells it all out.
Literally tell you what it's all about. You don't wanna sleep on this, cause every song's a hit. I promise, I'm okay with taking hits.
Recording hits.
I'm making hits.
Hey, when the people want hits, you gotta give them hits. You know what I mean?
Even though I have written a new hit for our next album called The Ethics Board.
Like, share, subscribe.